All right. You ready, Andrew?
Yes.
You ready, Steve?
I'm ready.
Hey, we're going again with Steve Chase. Steve, thank you so much for driving in from Toronto and
Yeah, man.
snowy
You're welcome.
weather. Wow, it's great
Glad
to
to
see
be
you.
here.
Yeah, thanks for driving in from North Carolina, man. Wow.
Well, I don't get asked to do these things often.
Cool.
Now you're originally from Montreal, so the snow, that doesn't bother you?
No, not at all. In fact, it's funny, in North Carolina, we get snow once every 3-4 years.
Yeah.
You get an inch and the whole place shuts down.
Yeah.
I drive around pulling people out of ditches,
No trip.
because nobody knows how to drive.
Hey, lower that mic and bring
Makes
it closer
sense.
to your mouth so I can see your face on this camera.
There you go.
Thank you, brother. So, hey, listen. Your resume is it's unmatched, man. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's a life. Even when when I read it, I'm like, did I do all that shit?
It is crazy, man.
It is crazy. It's been a crazy ride, but
And it all started with your mother suggesting you go to art school.
yeah. So growing up in Montreal, we were, we weren't wealthy. My dad left when I was 6 and left 5 kids. So my mom worked like 20 hours a day. And so I grew up on the street, but, so finished high school. I was playing hockey. I was playing, pretty good level midget hockey, and I wasn't going to go anywhere with that. So when I finished high school, my mom said, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I guess I'm going to go get a job at the hospital because they know me there. Literally.
That's funny.
I was always there getting stitches for something. I said, they know me there. I can get a job as an orderly or something. And she said, no, you got to go to college. College? I barely, I scraped through high school, college. She said, well, go to art school. You can draw. I was like, art school? I could draw. So I went to, no internet then. So I had to, how did I even find it? Gosh, that's a good question.
Like to find the art school?
Yeah. So I found out there was an art school in Montreal, and government, like a CEGEP. And I went to, I got the pamphlet, and there was, you had to call in and make an appointment for an interview so they could see your work. And so I had 3 months before the interviews were starting. So, and I had no work. So,
right.
So I just read the pamphlet. It said you need 3 paintings, 6 drawings.
Oh, wow.
5 pencil drawings. So I just spent those 3 months doing whatever they needed. And I went in, and it was so intimidating. Like, there was down in Old Montreal, the school was in Old Montreal, in one of the big giant buildings with, see the movie Fame? When the kids all come down the steps with the big pillars. It was like that. So very intimidating. So I had all my work in a green garbage bag.
Nice.
And I was walking up the steps to this big old building in Montreal, Old Montreal, and these kids all came out. And they're all dressed really cool and really hip, and they all had portfolios, big leather cases, and I had a green garbage bag. And I was like, and I turned around and I walked away, and I said, I don't belong here.
Wow.
And luckily, about a block away, I gathered myself and turned back around.
So all the kids were gone.
There we go.
The beginning to an underdog story.
Yeah, I went back in. It was rocky, yeah. So I went back in, and I was desperate to get in. I didn't know, you had to get through this interview. So I went in. The teacher, the professors were doing the interviews, the art teachers. So two ladies were in there, and they looked at my work, and they said, I had applied for commercial art.
Okay.
So I knew that term from somewhere, commercial art. They said, we're starting a new program called graphic design. Would you be interested in that? So I was like, can I get in?
Huh.
I'd like to know the difference.
Well, I didn't even ask that. I just, if I say yes, can I get in? So I just needed somewhere to go. So she said, yeah. So she said, yeah, your work's very oriented that way. So I said, okay, what is it? And she said, well, you learn photography, printing, how to take photographs, process film, how printing presses work, how typography, all that kind of stuff. Less advertising and more the process of printing things and designing brochures and posters. So I was like, sure. So she said, okay, and they let me in.
And
And the
sorry,
rest is history.
this was opposed to what you thought. What you thought you were going to go in and draw some.
I didn't know.
Some
Well,
things,
oh
paint
yeah,
some stuff.
commercial art. I always thought I'd be doing advertising, like just
Okay.
drawing illustrations for ads. And
Right. Okay.
I honestly didn't know that either. I just thought I'm going to art school.
Okay.
And honestly, the school it's called Dawson College, and it was a CJEP, and they offered 2 programs, commercial art and graphic design. And it was more of a trade school. By the time you got out of there, you were ready to work somewhere.
Right. So you've learned practical.
Yeah, you learn practical.
But what's the difference between the two arts?
So the kids that took commercial art did more illustration, more a typical scenario would be somebody from commercial art world would be an illustrator, and someone doing an ad that needed an illustration of a pink flamingo.
Okay. And what you took would print that.
I would print
You would create their thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or the agency art director would need a photograph he would call me to design a brochure for this new wine company.
Right.
And I would design the brochure, and he would write the copy. And then I would follow through with printing the brochure.
Okay.
Okay.
So that was the 2 disciplines. Ultimately, the one I ended up in was a more practical one,
Okay.
because I could apply it instantly. Whereas this one, you still had to have people. I knew how to print things. I knew how to take. I knew photography. I knew lighting. I knew the processes. This guy on this side in the commercial art world didn't know any of that. So
Right.
he just knew how to do illustrations.
Right. Somebody had to dig his stuff.
how it was applied exactly.
Okay.
He was more he had to put together. He was more like a director is now. He put together a portfolio of his work and hoped someone hired him.
Right.
Sure.
Whereas I could get a full-time job
Yeah.
doing this. So
Yeah. And
that was the difference.
Mike,
So
if you lean back, and that's fine. These, as good as these microphones are, they suck. So
I can move it.
Yeah. Thank you. Go ahead.
So then one of my teachers, it was a 3-year program, and one of my teachers, I've always been a shit disturber. I've always been a pain in the ass. Like I challenge the teachers every day. Like why you teach? Like one teacher, typography teacher, would say, okay, today we're going to learn to apply typography in a practical sense. Let's design some menus. And you're going to pick a name of a restaurant. You're going to design the logo for the restaurant. You're going to do the typeface. You're going to design a whole menu. Okay. So that was a cool project. And then we would go into a different class, let's say a photography class. And the photography class teacher would say, let's design some menus. And all the kids are going, we're already doing it there now. So
We don't have to work so hard.
yeah. So I would say, come on, man. Don't you guys talk to each other? The other teacher's doing menus. Let's do something else. And everyone's looking at me like, So I was a shit disturber, and the teachers hated me. They tried to kick me out.
No shit.
Yeah, but they couldn't because it was a government. It was a CJEP, so it was a state, a government school, provincial school. So, I was a pain in the ass, and they looked for every reason to get rid of me, but they couldn't because, the only thing you kicked out for was poor attendance, and I was there every day, every minute, so they couldn't.
Wow.
Yeah, I bet in the foyer of Dawson College now.
Yeah.
There's a picture of Steve.
So yeah, I mean, I got told more than once that why are you here? You're not going.
You'll never do
never
this.
going to make it. You're never going. And I wasn't the most talented, by far, not the most talented. There were so many guys that were way more talented than me, but
Perseverance.
nobody
beats out
worked.
talent,
Nobody
brother.
worked as hard as
There
me.
you go.
Nobody. And I was there every day and never missed a day. I was there early every day, and that annoyed the hell out of them. But
It's awesome, man.
yeah, it's just so one of my teachers saw that part of me, saw that I wasn't gonna give up, and so he was a Swiss guy, and he had a design studio, a pretty fancy design studio, high end, and he just said, "What are you doing after this is all finished?" And I said, "Gonna go look for a job." He said, "Well, come work with us." So,
Oh, wow.
So I said, "Wow, okay." And he said, can't pay you a lot, but I'll teach you a lot. So I said, okay. So he paid me $500 a month. Got paid once a month, European style. And that was tough.
That'd suck, after that first weekend.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
It was hard. It was hard. And,
And what year roughly was this?
70,
Okay.
79, 80. So I did that for a couple of years. No, this would have been 78, because by 79, by 80, I was in Toronto. So I worked with him for a couple of years, and then, I learned a lot from him, and I realized I need to make more money, and I wasn't going to get more money there. So I started doing freelance work for Eaton's advertising. Had a really good advertising department back then. Now it's crap, but it was a really high-end, lot of really good advertising people worked in Montreal office.
Now, was that an in-house advertising?
Yeah, it was,
Okay.
yeah. And so they hired me in the evenings to come in and design some of their work. So they had people all day long working there, designing their ads. They needed people to put them together. Someone would hand me a sketch, and I would do the type, and I would do make it work for them. So they hired me to put all their stuff together, just freelance.
Mm-hmm.
So I started making more money. I started making more money doing that, like one day a week, than my whole month at the other place. So I was like, okay. So I quit Design Link and just went freelance at Eaton's for a couple of years.
And the other fella supported you when you left him?
Oh yeah, he was cool. He was more than happy to see me leave the nest.
Right. Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, we remained friends. So so Eaton's was a good experience because I sort of got exposed to the advertising world. The first place I worked at, Design Link, was Design World. We only did posters for museums and
menus,
annual reports and menus and logos and
right.
So I wasn't in the ad world.
Right.
A lot of my friends from school ended up in the ad world, so I would meet them, and they were telling me about ads they were working on. I was like, I want to do ads. So I one day in Marketing Magazine, there was an ad for an advertising agency in Montreal called Anderson Advertising, and they were looking for a graphic designer.
Oh, well.
To work in an ad business. So I thought, okay, that's an interesting one. So I called them and I said, hey, I'm a graphic designer. And the guy says, we have too many applications now. I said, oh, shit. So he says, are you in town? I said, yeah, I work at Design Link. And he said, you work at Design Link? So I said, yeah, because it was the prestige design place. So he said, with Freddie? I said, yeah, I worked with Freddie for 2 years. So he said, come in this afternoon. So I went in and he gave me the job right there.
Nice.
Oh.
So I had the right pedigree,
Yeah, well, the world of Steve Chase just started. That's wicked, man.
Yeah, so the cool thing was it was a unique opportunity because what it was there was a very senior art director there who was doing ads, but he hated designing them. He liked thinking the concepts, but he hated doing the layout.
The actual work.
So I was the perfect thing. I became his right-hand man. He would hand me little scraps of paper with a headline on it, and I would turn it into an ad. And at the same time, I was getting exposed to the creative process of how to think of ideas for ads and how. So then they started including me in some of those meetings where you could brainstorm and come up with headlines, and then an opening in Toronto office. They had a Toronto office, and I just heard them talking one day that the art director quit in Toronto, and I just said,
Pick me.
Can I go? And he looked at me, do you want to go to Toronto? I said, I want to be an art director. So if I can go to Toronto and be an art director, I'll go. So he said, okay. So they moved me to Toronto. I don't know Dieter Kaufman. Do you know Dieter Kaufman? He passed away now, but
I can't say I do.
it was Anderson Advertising, and yeah, you're probably not. There's no reason for you to know. But anyway, they moved me to Toronto, and I started working, doing ads and TV spots every now and then. Not a lot. They were a very small agency, didn't do a lot of TV.
So the ads you were doing, like for magazines and newspapers?
Yeah. For clients, we had Rayovac, we had Rayovac batteries, we had DuPont, some of their plastics divisions. We had we had some booze companies, Finlandia Vodka. So we were doing ads for them. print ads, billboards, and every now and then a TV spot. So I didn't get a lot of exposure to TV. And then about 3 years later, this is 1983, 84. And then they lost a big account and they had to let me go. Had to lay me off. He said, I'll still hire you freelance because we still have a lot of work to do, but the bank wants me to cut the payroll, so I got to take you off, but you can charge me an hourly fee. So I ended up working just as much and making more money.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So the bank just needed to see that they were cutting expenses, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which is fine. So then, you know, it was like everyone was always like sort of when you're ready to snatch this grasshopper, you know.
Yeah, right on.
Snatch this pebble out of my hand. And it's the same thing. Like Dieter was a mentor.
Yeah.
But there came a time where I didn't agree with him. Like he would look at my ideas and say, okay, that's a good one. That's not. No, that's a good one. And I would debate him. You know, at first I would just listen to him. But then after a couple of years, I was like, oh, you're wrong. That's a good idea. You know? So I could see that I needed to get out from under his wing.
Okay.
So I started looking for jobs, and I got a job at Campbell Ewald, which was a big American agency that had an office on Church and Richmond.
Okay.
In that big old orange building, they're really cool. So I went there, and they Trevor Goodgall, creative director, hired me, and I was working on fiberglass pink insulation, you know, those pink flamingo ads.
Yeah.
All those. I worked on Eastern Airlines, Cadbury.
Now, was all this grunt work for you, or were you really stoked about what you were doing? And
No, I was stoked because it was the big leagues. Yeah.
Okay.
For me, it was like I got called up to the big leagues. I worked my way up from doing Rayovac battery ads to now I'm working on Eastern Airlines, and I'm flying to Florida to present ideas, and it was like, holy.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, TV was a normal thing. Now we're doing a bunch of TV ads a year. We're doing fiberglass pink insulation commercials with the pink flamingos and all those funny commercials. They're classics now. But so we started doing that, and so I was there for 3 or 4 years. So getting a lot of TV exposure, and watching, and we had really good budgets at the time. You know, so I'm talking 1983, 84, 85. We were doing $300,000 commercials, which is what people are doing now, or less, you know. So we had a decent budget. We would hire American directors, and we would go to Chicago and shoot. We'd go to Florida and shoot. So that exposed me to a lot of really good directors. And I never dreamed of being a director. I never wanted to be a director, but I was starting to just get exposure to it. And then, again, snatched the pebble out of my hand. I got to a point where I was being held back by my boss, Trevor. As much as he supported me, we clashed a lot. And so we were in Chicago filming with Joe Settlemeyer. I don't know if you ever heard the name, but if you look him up, he's the guy that did the original Wendy's Where's the Beef?
Okay.
Pretty famous guy, and very distinctive style. He did the Pink Flamingo commercials for fiberglass. So we were working there, and CBC, what was the show? It was called The Journal, maybe. They were doing they called us and said, hey, we'd love to do a behind the scenes story about how you guys make those fiberglass commercials. So
okay.
Our boss said, well, coincidentally, we're doing one right now, so you want to come and follow us? So they did. They sent a crew to follow my partner and I, Terry O'Reilly. I don't know if you know Terry? No. So Terry does all the Terry now is pretty famous in this world, the pod world.
Okay.
He does the CBC show. Oh, crap. I can't remember the name. He's big. Anyway, but it's all advertising related that he does. So Terry was my partner, and they followed us around for about 2 weeks, interviewing us, asking us how we how he came up with the ideas, and they filmed us presenting the ideas to the client. They followed us everywhere. Then they followed us to the shoot. So at the shoot, we were in Chicago, and this Settlemyre at the time was the king of the castle of commercials, you know. So the lady from the Journal says to me, "Hey, Steve, we want to get a shot of you near the camera." You know, like, okay. So I'm just standing beside the camera, and I'm looking over at the set, and the camera's there pointing that way. And I can see Settlemyre working with the talent. And he sees me, he turns around, and he sees me like leaning on the dolly. And he's looking at me like I can see, I'm like, uh-oh. You know, uh-oh. So now I see him coming at me, like, uh-oh. And the CBC camera is pointing at me. So I'm just like, so he comes at me, and I'm thinking he's going to blow my head off, and he goes right past me. And I look, and he goes to my boss, and he says, and I can just see him yelling at my boss, like giving him shit. And I can't hear what he's saying, but it's not good. Trevor was a little guy, and Joe was a big guy, and he's yelling at him, and I'm just like, oh, Christ. So my boss comes over to me, and he says, Joe would like you to leave the set for a while. I said, what are you talking about? He's annoyed with you now, and he would like you to go, not be on the set, not be on the set anymore. So I was like, you're joking, right? And he said, no. So I said, and you told him go fuck yourself because you told him go fuck yourself because we are paying him, and he should just shut up and shoot the commercial. Is that what you told him? No. You know? So he basically caved in, and he said, okay, I'll tell Steve to leave.
Wow.
So I left. I went for a walk, and my producer came with me, and there's a famous picture of me somewhere pissing on Settlemyre's truck.
Beautiful. Let's find that bugger.
It's somewhere. I have it somewhere. Anyway, so I left. I came back, and I was watching from. We were shooting in a backyard, so I was watching from somebody else's backyard, like across a fence. I wasn't allowed on the set anymore. So
and you were the art director?
Yeah. I came up with the idea, my partner and I came up with the idea for the ads. So,
oh, for Christ's sake.
So he was a prima donna. He was very famous at the time. You had to wait in line to get, you had to pay 10 grand just to have a conference call with him. You know, so he was a big guy, big news.
Yikes.
So he, after that, the shoot was done and it turned out great. But at the airport going home, next morning at the airport. So that night I went out with my producer and Terry, my partner, and we sat in a bar. I don't drink, but we sat in a bar all night just fuming. And so we got up at 6:30 to get to the airport, and we're sitting in the seating area waiting for the plane, and I'm just half asleep because I was toast. And Trevor, the boss, walks in, and he looks at me, he says, "You look like shit." So I got up and I just reamed him, and I just got up and said, "You're a fucking piece of shit," and you're in the airport. And my producer's like, and then so I get back to Toronto. Yeah. Oh, so anyway, I look at my ticket, and I said to the producer, I said, "You need to sit beside me, because if Trevor's beside me, there's going to be an incident on the plane." You know. So she said, okay. So she changed seats with him, and now he's right behind me. So we're on the plane. I lean back, and there's a gap now, right? And he sticks his head in there, and he says, Steve, you know, you're very, very disrespectful to me. He's a South African guy, very disrespectful. So I just said, I put my seat up, just like squashed his face back, and I just said, leave me alone. So we got back to the agency, and I just said, you know, people started calling me, like, did you hit Trevor? No, I didn't hit him. So the story got around that I hit him at the airport. So I said, no, I didn't hit him. So I got a phone call from Scally McCabe Sloves and said, hey, you looking for a job?
That's because the rumor got around.
Word got out right away. So I was like,
no way.
Yeah.
Great.
So I moved there, and then it's funny. It's a funny thing in this business, and I don't know if it's true in your world, but you can't. It's probably not true in your world.
All the hitting we do is fake.
Yeah. But what's happening? Yeah, exactly. So was this one. I didn't hit him, but
Just kidding.
everyone thinks I did. But what happens in the ad business is when you're working at an agency, you move up in that agency and you can never move higher than that position. Like they always look at you. So if you're a junior and you move up to a senior, in their minds you're always the junior that moved up. They don't look at you as a senior. But when you move, you start as a senior.
Yes.
He's a senior.
Oh, okay.
You know?
That's interesting.
And it happens. So you have to move. You have to move.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yet they always look at you as the kid in the mailroom.
Right.
Yeah, but he's the boss now. Yeah, but he was the kid in the mailroom.
But when you
That's
move
kinda
this way,
like that.
you're not in the mailroom.
That's right.
Yeah.
As soon as you move to a new place, they don't know that about you. They only know you now. So to get ahead in the agency business, you got to move a lot, and your salary goes up a lot as you move, because now you're a senior guy. Here you had to peck away at getting good money. Now you move, you start. I'm a senior art director. I should get what everyone else is getting at that level or more. So you start. So that's how. So as opposed to most careers where it looks like you're unstable if you move a lot, in the ad business, it's smart to move a lot because for a bunch of reasons. One is that your advancement and your pay, but also experience. You know, you stay in one place working on the same account all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like doing the same stunt every day.
Exactly. You never grow, you never learn, and then all of a sudden you lose the account and you're done.
Yeah.
So I moved around a lot, and then at Scally I started working on Labatt's beer, and had a job to do for I think it was a summertime Labatt's spot, and I came up with this concept where it was a big sweaty bar, an old sweaty bar, and the air conditioner. You see all the paper fluttering in the air conditioner, and it breaks down, and all the guys in the bar go, oh. You know. So then the bartender looks over and he goes, and he opens a cooler, takes out a can of blue,
Oh no!
opens the air
This is
conditioner,
wicked.
puts it in like a battery,
Yeah.
closes it.
Oh, right on.
Closes
brilliant.
it, and then it says this, and the guys look at the bartender, and the bartender says blue conditioning. So that was the spot, and I wanted it to look like a music video. I wanted to have the gritty, not like a commercial. So I hired Rob Quartley. You know Rob?
I don't.
Really.
So Rob Quartley was Canada's David Fincher.
Okay.
He was the music video guy in Canada, like as Fincher was. Fincher started in videos, but Rob, even before him, if you look at the beginning of the Juno Awards, when they had the first video awards that they gave, Rob won the first 6.
Okay.
Like there was nobody else. There was nobody else. So he had done a video called Corey Hart, Sunglasses at Night.
Yeah, man.
So he did that video, and I liked that video, and I thought,
Right on with all the chicks. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want my spot. I want my spot to feel like that. I want it grainy like that. I want it. So I went to Rob, and I found out who did that video, and I found out who shot it, and so I went to Rob, and I said, he didn't do commercials yet. So I said, I want you to do this commercial with me. So his company was Champagne Pictures.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember Champagne.
I know the name.
Yeah. So hired Rob to do the commercial. Because he hadn't done a lot of TV, I was on top of him the whole way, and we worked together a lot. But he loved it because all of a sudden, in the video world, he was getting $50,000, $30,000, and he was always shooting in an alleyway, always shooting in a empty warehouse because they couldn't afford anything, couldn't afford sets, couldn't afford equipment. So all of a sudden, this budget was $300,000, and he could build a set, and he could build, and he was like, holy crap, I love it. This is great. But he was also, what he didn't know at the time was there's a lot of crap commercials, a lot of shit commercials. This was a good one because it had a good idea. We wanted it to look like a video, so it wasn't going to be your normal overlit bad commercial. So hired him, we did it, and then he took that spot, and he started getting more and more commercial work. So one day he calls me in my office, and he would call me from time to time saying, hey, I got this script. Can you look at it and tell me what they're trying to say here? So I would help him
Yeah. good.
decipher the spot so he could get on the phone and sound like he knew what he was talking about with the ad agency. So he would call me every now and then. And one day he called me. He says, let's have lunch. I want to talk to you about something. Okay. So I go down to Queen Street. We have lunch. And I thought he had a script, but he says, I want to stop doing video. So I said, yeah, you should. You know, if you've done like 7 or 8 commercials now, yeah, you should. So he says, but I want to turn my company into a commercial company. Like no more videos. Champagne Pictures was a video company. I want to turn it into commercial. So I said, okay. You got to hire the right executive producer. You got to get rid of all the music guys and bring in good people at the top. And he says, I want you to come join us. So I said, as what? He said, a director. You'd be good at it. And I said, what do you do? Just quit your job one day and say, I'm a director? And he said, yeah.
Whatever works, brother.
So I said, oh, wow. Okay. Let me think about that. So I went home to my wife, and she who also worked in the ad business, and she had her own small agency. She was doing all the Club Monaco stuff.
Cool.
When Club Monaco first started, she launched it. So that was her account that she just did tons of Club
Huge
Monaco.
now.
Yeah. So she had a small agency doing that. So she was making good money. I was making good money, but I was now going to not make good money all of a sudden because I'm going to be a director, at first. So she said, he offered you a chance to be a director, and I said, yeah. And she did a lot of TV too, and she thought about it. She said, I can see it. I can see you doing that. So I said, okay. It's a bit of not really a risk. If I don't like it, I'll just go back to doing what I was doing.
Sure.
So, and by that time, I had won probably a couple of 100 awards in advertising. So I was known in the city. People knew me. People knew, like the way they called me and said, hey, you looking for a job? People knew me already, and I had a reputation in the city. So I wasn't concerned about finding work. And I also thought, well, all those people that know me are going to hire me to do commercials.
What does it mean to have a couple 100 awards at this point?
Nothing.
Not to stop you.
At the time, nothing. It just was like, oh, okay, cool. Hey, you won another award. Oh, cool.
Have to build a bigger house.
Okay, sorry. We'll continue.
Yeah, it didn't mean anything. It was nice. It was nice, but it didn't affect me anyway. It did later in life. I'll tell you. I'll get to that.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was like, the first 10 were like, wow, an award. Then it was like, oh, we won an award. Okay, good.
Well, right. When you get up to 200, okay.
Yeah, no shit.
So like my first year doing real advertising, Terry and I won 40, and it was like, cool. That was cool. And some of them were more prestigious than others, and some were just, So it's cool, and it was nice, but you're busy with your head down trying to. Ultimately it's an ego thing. You want to do great work. You want to do work that people talk about. You want to do work. Did you see that ad? That's all you want, right? And it's a sad thing too, because ultimately in the end of my career, it's like I realize my biggest happiness in my work is someone patting me on the back saying, that's great. And it's like, that's not what I should be happy about. Like, wow, I saw that ad. Great ad, Steve. And it's like, really? That's
Wow.
I know, but that you hope life is worth more than that. Ultimately, it is now. But for a while, that was, and I think you guys probably similar in the sense that you pull something off, you get the accolades, and the pat on the back, and
but
that
then
makes you happy.
But then you go home.
But the problem is in the ad business. There was no going home because you're working all night. Like before I became a director, coming up with ads was a 24/7 job, because once they tell you, hey, we need an ad to sell this, you got this much money, you don't stop thinking about it. And that's why I would leave the office early, and someone would give me grief saying, you left early. Yeah. Well, you know what? At 2:00 in the morning, I was wide awake thinking about your freaking ad. And I'm not charging you for that, so don't fucking give me a hard time about leaving early again.
Totally, man. Totally.
And they just shut up. Okay.
Yeah.
So they never bothered me again with that. But so anyway, so I thought I quit my job, and I went into my boss, a pretty famous ad guy in Toronto, Gary Prouk. And I went in and I said, I'm leaving. That's Scally McCabe. So I'm leaving. And he said, and he loved me. He said, Paul, wow. And he was a very loyal guy. So he was quite annoyed that I was going to go work at another ad agency.
Okay.
And he said, fuck. I said, no, I'm not going in another agency. I'm going to become a director. And he sort of paused and he thought, why would you want to do that? So I said, because I think I'd be good at it. I think it'd be fun. And he said, you realize right now you have all the power? You have all the power right now. I said, maybe I'm missing something. He said, you come up with the idea. You have a blank piece of paper. You write whatever you want on that paper. You go sell it. They give you $250,000, $300,000. You hire the director. You fire the director. You tell him what to do. You tell him what you want. You tell him, and he does it. He jumps when you say jump. And you have all the power right now. You're going to give that up? And I was like, never thought of it that way. So I thought, yeah, okay, I guess you're right. Yeah, I can fire them, can't I? So I thought about it, and then I thought, again, I've never been afraid to open a door that's in front of me. So I thought, I got nothing to lose. I'll just come back and do this again if I hate it. I like the idea of being on a set. I love the hubbub on the set. I love the...
There's something unique and flavorful about it.
Yeah, and also just the creative process. And I liked, and it was different. It was a new challenge. So I was like, I'm going to try it. My biggest mistake I made, the first 3 years were really hard. Really hard. My biggest mistake I made was I really believed that all the people I'd worked with and all my friends would hire me. Biggest mistake.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to realize what was going on. And I thought, why aren't they hiring me? Why aren't they hiring me? And then I realized their job is to get the best director in the world to do their commercials. Their job is, if they only have $30,000, their job is to send that script to Ridley Scott. And Ridley Scott looks at it and says, holy shit, this is so good. I'm going to do it for free. That's their job. Okay. And it happens. So their job is to get the best person available, not their friend.
Right.
Right.
And I thought, and I realized that. I thought, because I did that. I whenever I had a TV spot to do, I didn't look for the available guy. I looked for who's the best in the world, because they're going to make me look good. So it took me a while to come to terms that I'm not going to get work from them yet. So what I started doing was, so Champagne Pictures, being a new production company, now starting to do commercials, partners bought them.
Okay.
Right at that time, Supercore came in. Labatt's Beer was bought.
Okay.
Right at that time, and they started a company called Supercore. And Supercore came around. They decided to take over all the concert promotion, all the audio in town. So their thinking was, a band is going to come to town. We're gonna shoot their videos here. We own production companies. We're gonna do their recording in their studios we bought. We're gonna promote their concerts, and it's all one big entertainment company. They bought companies in the States. They bought companies in Hollywood.
Wow.
And they just we're gonna have an in-house production right from we're gonna do the posters for your tour to you're gonna produce and pump out your videos. You just come to Toronto, it's all done. So buying Partners was part of that. And Partners and Champagne, they bought Champagne because they're the music place, but we were in the process of turning that over. So what happened was, when they got bought, Don McLean is now involved. Did you know Don?
I did.
So Don McLean is now involved. And Don McLean, I knew very little. But Rob Courtley was running Champagne, and so he sells the company to Supercore. And so ostensibly, Don is now in charge of Champagne. So I had just started at Champagne, and Rob had given me a small guarantee of, like, I guarantee you're going to earn at least, I think it was $45,000. I guarantee that you're going to make $45,000. If you don't shoot a day, we'll pay you $45,000. Okay. So at least I knew I was going to get something. But so Don McLean now owned the company, and all the contracts were just wiped out, canceled, because we got to renegotiate. So Don didn't want to give me a contract. He said, who's Steve? Who? And so Rob Courtley said, look, I just brought him on, and I think he's going to be good. I think he can do it. And Don said to Rob, well, you guarantee him the money. I'm not. So Rob said, okay, I will. So Rob personally guaranteed the money.
Damn, man.
And Don, so anyway, what happened was Champagne became a low rent production company. If clients had zero money, they'd send the work to Champagne. So, and it was just a place you could go do shit cheap. We had a studio in a warehouse down on Eastern. We had a camera, and we would go shoot shit cheap. I didn't want to do that because I had just come from working on the biggest commercials in the world in Canada to, no, I'm not going to do something that's shit. I didn't become a director to do shit work. So I was a pain in the ass already. But so what I started doing was they would send me a script, and it was just horrible shit. And I was like, and we weren't getting stuff from good agencies. We were getting stuff from really bad agencies because the good agencies had the money to do good ads. So really bad stuff, like Curtain Warehouse and, unpainted furniture galore, like really bad stuff. So I'd get the script, and the executive producer of the company would say, here, Steve, here's a project. And I'm looking at it, like, I can't do this. So what I would do, I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to use all my advertising experience, and I'm going to make this better. So I would rewrite the ad. I would say, this is what I
saw this coming.
This is what I would do. I would just throw it away, do my own ad for them. And it's totally different. Nothing like they do. And I would redo it, and totally realizing that if they bought it, we have the cameras, we have a studio, we can produce it for cheap, but it'll help me build a reel.
Sure.
So it was a risk, but it wasn't. So I would send this back, because if I send this back, they're going to say, fuck you. Who the fuck do you think you are?
Yeah, who do you think you are?
Rewriting our work. So a couple of times that happened. A couple of times I got a call back saying, you can do this? You can do that ad you sent us for the money we have? And I'd be like, yep. Okay. So that's how I started doing some ads that I had rewritten, and we did them for like 30 grand, and we just pulled punches, worked 20-hour days, and, got them done. And so I started getting a 2-3 spot reel, and then I got a good break. Bill Dern and Rand McLaren Advertising. So Bill's father was Bill Dern Sr. was the Montreal Canadiens goaltender, famous Hall of Fame goaltender. So Bill called me one day, and he said, after I'd been there a year, directing for a year, and it was a tough year because I wasn't doing great stuff. So it was a tough year. So Bill called me, and I went in his office, and he said, how's it going directing? So he knew me from the ad world, and I said, it's been challenging. I was excited that he was calling me because he does good work. So he says, I have an offer for you. I said, oh, great. What do you got? He said, I want to hire you back here. Like, if you're done with directing, come back. And I was like, I thought you were going to give me some commercials to do. And he said, no, I need a partner here. I'll give you, they offered me a lot of money. And I was like, oh. So it was tough. It was a tough decision, but I was like, I haven't got everything I need out of this yet. I can just see the light at the end of the tunnel. So he gave me a job. He gave me a spot to do for Ontario Lottery. And I did that. And then I just started getting a bunch of better work. And all of a sudden, friends started hiring me. After I did that one Ontario Lottery, it was a legitimate client, legitimate job,
right?
Real budget. And all of a sudden, okay, he's not going to blow it up. He's okay. So then I started getting work from some of my other buddies, and I always had a measuring stick, and it was a tough measuring stick. So it was always, I would sit back sometimes and say, when would Steve Chase, the art director, hire Steve Chase, the director?
Good question.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I was like, not yet.
Wow.
Not yet. And that was like, for me, that was like, Am I good enough that I would hire me yet? No.
See, not everyone thinks like that, though. There's a reason why you're who you are. This is obviously.
Yeah, but I'm tougher on myself than anybody was. So.
Yeah, but you said your friends wouldn't hire you because they're looking to hire the best in the world.
Yeah.
Well, Steve Chase was becoming the best in the world.
Eventually.
Yeah, yeah.
But you had to prove it.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah. So and that was a benchmark for me. When would I hire myself? And then all of a sudden after now, so time's clicking on. I'm doing a few more ads. All of a sudden I did a Carlsberg ad here, which was, wow, that's a big project. Then I did a crunchy chocolate bar ad. Then I did
Crunchy was the best. That's an easy sell. Come on.
yeah. But it was a different ad. It was very different. It was music. It was like a music video again.
Andrew lived in LA for a while.
Oh, did you?
I would actually FedEx him
Like
crunchy,
crunchy?
but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coffee crisp.
Yeah, that's good too, man.
So anyway, so I started getting more and more work, and then I got a call from New York saying this guy in the company in New York calls me and he says, "Who represents you in the States?" I said, "Nobody." So he said, "Well, come on down. Let's come. I'll fly you down to New York, have some lunch with me, and we'll just chat." I said, "Okay." So I went down to New York and talking to this guy, and he said, I'll rep you here, but you got to move here. Like, you can't be living in Toronto and working here. It just won't have the right, it's just the wrong image. So I said, well, I'm not ready. So he said, "You're not ready?" I said, "No." And this was me saying, am I good enough to
right.
Yeah, would I hire me?
to hire
Yeah,
me? So
yeah.
I said, "I'm not ready yet." So he said, "When are you going to be ready?" And he was just looking at me like, "What the fuck? You're fucking nuts." Someone saying no. "I'm not ready." I said, Soon. I think I'll be ready soon." So what happened in the meantime was, now it's in my head that somebody's in the States is interested and in probably your business too. And it's a Canadian thing too. I'll tell you about that in a bit. It's a Canadian thing too. Canadians have an inferiority complex when you're that close to LA and the States. Like, everything's bigger and faster and better, and it's like, and Canadians, if you look at the history of our entertainment industry, you got to leave Canada
Yeah.
to get famous.
100%.
Yeah.
And maybe not so much anymore, but you had to.
Well,
If you were a band, if you didn't make it in the States, you were stuck doing.
totally. Yeah,
th-
absolutely.
There's a joke I tell, like, why they call it the Juno Awards? Is when they walk out on stage, someone goes, "Do you know that one?"
Yeah, it's true.
Sorry.
No, it's true. But that, and even to the point where you have the CRTC with CanCon, Canadian content.
Sure.
You have to.
Totally.
Is it still there?
30%. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's still
So,
there. I think it's getting bigger even.
So that tells you that there's an inferiority thing. We got to protect our industry. We got to protect. No, it's just open it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Open it, and you'll get better. You'll be forced to get better.
Yeah,
The cream of the crop will rise to the top.
absolutely.
The dregs
100%.
the dregs will always be there. There's always someone to do the shit work. The cream will rise to the top. The mediocre get hammered in any recession, in any kind of thing like that. And it happened in our business when all of a sudden American directors were allowed to come here. Don McLean did that. He opened that door for American directors to come shoot in Toronto, and that changed the industry. Like, a lot of Canadian directors all of a sudden were dead.
What do you think the difference is, Steve? Canadian director, American director, other than the inferiority complex? Why? Why is an American director so much more?
It was the grass is greener. It was always just
Okay.
like, whoa, I can have that guy from New York. Well, he must be better. He's from New York.
I see. Yeah.
It's part of that. It's part of the complex. They're not better. They're not. They're just different, and
Yeah.
different is always exciting, and different's always he's in.
It
New
looks good on paper too. Yeah.
York. It does. Oh, we got this guy from New
Sells.
York to come do it. The clients, we're bringing a guy in from New York.
People always say
Right.
that about training, even in our line of work. I mean, I didn't sign up for class all year, but there's a guy from LA coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
Who's the guy from LA?
Yeah, I know, right? Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Then look up his resume.
And that's supposed to mean something.
Yeah.
He's from
Sometimes
New
it
York.
does, of course, but
It must be good. So funny. When I first moved to the States, Playback Magazine, I used to write articles for them every few months. And one of the questions I got asked was, you've been in LA for 2 years now. And so now this is 1992. Toronto is just starting to become a big hub. You know, there was American work coming, some series were coming, but it wasn't big yet. So, you know, and someone asked me a question, what's the difference? Like, you've been in LA 2 years in Hollywood and you come here to work a lot. Like, what do you see the differences? I said, it's just simple. In LA, and this relates to your world a lot. I said, in LA, if I sit down with my team and say, okay, here's the shot. I have a chair, and the chair explodes and flies 50 feet in the air, and when it gets to 50 feet in the air, it breaks off into 40 pieces, and as the pieces fall, the pieces reassemble into a table, and that's the shot. And I want to do it live, and I want it to be practical. And the difference is, if I have that meeting in Toronto, say the same thing, the guys in Toronto say, okay, we'll get back to you. We're going to figure it out. We'll call you and we'll work on this. We'll get back to you and we'll tell you how we think we can do it. Okay. That meeting in LA, the guy just looks at me and says, what color is the chair?
Interesting.
Like, they've done it.
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference.
Yeah, that I can imagine.
That's the biggest difference. So there's just such a wealth of experience it's been done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toronto has to figure it out.
Yeah.
Now
We're getting there now.
Toronto's changed.
Yeah.
This is 92.
Sure.
93, so what's happened? Toronto used to be 2 crews deep. You know, if you were the third show in town, you were in trouble. You know, good solid crews. Now I don't know, 10 crews. I don't know. You know, so it's a big. So, and that was always that was the big difference for me. It was the same result would happen. It just took time here versus there. It was like, that was
yeah.
Quality wasn't better. You know, ultimately, if you have the right people, the best people.
Right. Yeah.
And you know, so that for me was LA wasn't working in Hollywood was convenient. It was because everything's there. It was intimidating.
Yeah.
I mean, man, when I first got there, I remember walking onto the backlot Universal, one of my first jobs, walking into the big studios, and Steven Spielberg is shooting in the next studio.
Jeez.
You know, as I'm standing there like,
Yeah, but he was also he was a little nervous. He had Steve Chase next door.
Yeah.
I might blow him up. But you know, but that, and you know, I walk in, I meet my crew, and they're all talking about working with Mel Gibson yesterday.
Right.
And now they're doing a DuPont commercial with me. And I'm like,
Yeah, that's another big difference too. Yeah.
It is, you know, it's intimidating because you want to think that what you're doing is important, and you want to think that that when you talk you have some authority, but really, I mean, it took me a while to get over it, but really it's like the imposter syndrome. Like, do they know I'm just a punk from Montreal? And
Yeah, that's that's that Canadian confidence thing again.
It is. That's happened to me a few times in my career. Like, you know, going into a big meeting where there's a $2 million Super Bowl spot, and I'm in the hotel room, you know, taking a shower, I look in the mirror, and I'm like, holy shit, what am I doing here? You know?
Did it ever matter to anybody that you didn't come from like a film background?
Not at all. In fact, it was a super big advantage for me to come from the ad world.
I can imagine that. Because
I knew I could look at a script and know exactly what the strategy was, what the meetings they've been to. A lot of directors come from the film world, in the commercial world now. Obviously, it's a whole different story in features and TV, but in the commercial world, you get a lot of guys coming from the film schools and the film and art side versus the advertising side. And the guys that come from the art side have a totally different sensibility. Like, a guy will come in, there's a bunch of directors that have really cool, hip styles, they'll walk in and say, I see it purple and I see it upside down in purple. And sometimes the agency says, whoa, that's genius. But I come in from the other side and I say, it should be upside down because, and I have a strategic reason why that's upside down. So I'm not saying I like purple. I'm just saying it should be purple because.
100%.
So they're looking at me saying, wow, okay. So all my ideas are based on the advertising strategy versus just, I like purple. And they both work, but I had the advantage of being in the boardroom they were in before. So when I'm talking to the clients, I could sell the client on anything because I'd been in that room so often. And so it's a big advantage for the agency too, because a lot of times with the giant budgets I was working on, clients are freaking nervous, and clients are like, this is a shit show, and I was able to give everybody confidence because I would walk in and talk their language, and they just, okay, this guy's not.
Early on in my career, in the commercial industry, what do I know as a stunt guy? But I heard once in a while, like there seemed to be a bit of a hate on for the guys that came from the art world or the agency world or something like that, and they're like, it should be filmmakers and whatever from production. And I got that idea in my head, and when I met a director that was coming from the agency or the ad world or whatever, I always had this thing like, oh, this director's gonna suck or something.
Right.
But one of my favorite directors in the world that I've worked for a number of times is some of the most challenging and beautiful commercials that I do is from agency side. Yeah. And I mean, I kept thinking in my head, well, it seems not to make sense in this particular scenario.
So the thing is, ultimately, you're making ads, right? So what you see a lot happens is when the art guy comes in, he's not interested in advertising. He's interested in what it's going to look like in the film.
Okay.
And he doesn't care, he doesn't care if it's a great ad. He just cares that it looks great. When you come from that side, when you come from the advertising side, my biggest thing was I want this to be the best freaking ad, and I'm going to make it look good.
You want to sell a product?
Sell a product, yeah.
So I know why I'm there.
Or Steve, do you mind?
Yeah. I know why I'm there. I'm there to sell this product. So now, what is the best, funniest, biggest, loudest, craziest thing we can do that's going to sell this product? And so they love me for that. That I fight for their product. I have a great Super Bowl story that, I got blacklisted from one of the biggest agencies in the world because I fought with them. So it was a spot for Aquafina water.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And in the spot, there's a guy jogging through downtown San Francisco. He's like and it was a takeoff on all the Nike spots, the heroic guy jogging and sweating and so it's just a guy, and he says, why do I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning? Because I want to be the best. Why do I? And it's just, you just see him running through the streets, and then you cut to 4 people at a cafe looking at him like they're eating breakfast, and they're looking at him on the corner and like this pretentious asshole,
Right.
And he steps out in the street and he gets hit by an Avian truck.
Okay.
And the guy sitting at the table goes, that's ironic. And it's Aquafina, not pretentious water. So so in the commercial, the guy gets hit by the truck, and you cut to them, and that's it. You just see him get bam, and you see him get hit. It's not just
it's a practical stunt.
It's not just a cutaway. Like you see him get hit. So I love this spot. It's going to be on Super Bowl. I love it. It's fantastic. It'll be great. We're gonna whack this guy. The night before the shoot, I get a call. Like we're going to calls at 6 a.m. I got a call, I got a note under my door at 10 o'clock. I just come back from dinner. A note under my door saying, from my producer, can you call me? Okay, so I call my producer. Okay, I got to get the agency. We have to have a meeting. Tonight? Now? Yeah. So we go down to the boardroom at the hotel, and we have this meeting, and the creative director gets on the phone from Los Angeles, and he says, so I saw your shooting boards. I said, yeah. And all the creative guys are sitting there, and he's on the speakerphone. The producers, agency producer, me, two creatives are sitting there, my producer. And he says, you don't have a shot of him getting up after he gets hit. So I said, getting up? He's dead. He's not getting up. In our mind, he should be gone. He said, yeah, well, we got to shoot a shot of him. We got to shoot a shot of him getting up because, just in case. So I said, let me get back to you. I got to go for a walk. I got to figure this out. So as I'm doing this, I'm looking at the creative guys, and I'm looking at them, you know, and he's talking away, and I'm just going, we're not doing that, no. And I'm looking at them like, come on, speak up, like
right.
fight, you know, the two creative guys. So he hangs up, and I look at them, and I said, guys, this is going to ruin your commercial. You can't do this. It's going to ruin the commercial if that guy gets up. If you cut to him going, after the truck hits him, it ruins it. The whole point is he goes, poof, and you know.
Yeah.
And the creative guy looked at me and he said, hey man, that's my boss. I got to protect my paycheck.
Right.
I was like, okay. So I went for a walk and I called my producer and I just said, I'm not shooting that shot. I'll shoot what they hired me to do. I will not shoot that shot. Well, you know, Steve, I don't care. You can tell them they're going to have to get another director to come shoot that shot because I'm not shooting that shot. So
wow.
So I get a phone call. Oh, so I guess something. I go to bed. Something happens, and the next morning I go to set, and no one's talking to me. Like the agency is just like. So I walk by Video Village. Good morning, and they just
drama.
So I looked at my producer and I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Well," I said, "I'm not shooting that shot." "No, you don't have to shoot the shot." "Okay, what's going to happen here?" Like I don't understand how they're going to do this. Like they're just giving in, you know. So I said, I was thinking in my head, wheel spinning. So what are they doing? Anyway, so I went by the agency and I said, "It's great. We don't have to do that shot." Everybody came around and again they just went, just a nod, and they wouldn't even talk to me. I thought, oh well. So I going about my day, and then I started thinking during the day, why are they giving up? Like why? Something's going on. I don't know what it is. Then I started thinking, they're going to edit it differently. They're going to edit the fucking thing differently. So I let them, so we shot it, and I called my editor, and I said, they're going to mess with this. I don't know how. I think what's going to happen is just before he gets hit by the truck, they're going to cut away.
Makes sense.
You're going to cut to the people, and you're going to hear a sound. I think that's what they're going to ask you to do. And he says, okay. I said, don't do it. So he says, what do you mean don't do it? I said, if they ask you to do that, you hand them the film cans and you say, I can't do that.
Wow.
I got to protect.
Okay.
I got to protect the work. So that's what happened. He calls me and he says, they want me to cut away. I said, tell them to fuck off.
No shit.
So now the head of the agency calls me and he says, what the fuck are you doing? So this is a Super Bowl spot. This has got to go to a Pepsi convention on the next day. And all the bottlers at the convention see all the spots that are going on the Super Bowl before the Super Bowl. So it had to be ready the next day. So now he's in trouble because my editor won't cut it. So he calls me, what the fuck are you doing? And I said, you know what's really weird is I'm fighting for you. I'm fighting for your work. You're about to fuck up your work. And I'm fighting to keep it pure. I'm not fighting for me. I'm fighting for you. I'm fighting for the best ad. And he said, oh, never looked at it that way. So I said, I'm just fighting for what's right.
Interesting.
He says, okay. So they cut it. They cut it my way. My editor did it. They sent it to convention. It was a huge hit. Never got cut the wrong way.
Played at the Super Bowl?
Played in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Never got cut the wrong way.
That's a trip.
But I became a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I was like a guy now.
Let's not deal with him again.
I see.
Yeah, I was a pain in the ass because I didn't just jump when they said jump, you know.
I want to see this spot.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I got it somewhere. But you know, it's a fun spot. It's not one of my best, but I like it. But you know,
it's a good story.
But yeah, it's just the commitment to to what you do and not being pushed around. And you know, I'm either an idiot or I'm really smart. I don't know which one it is, because I could have ended my career. It could have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You felt something there.
Yeah, you stood up for yourself and you
Yeah.
gained that confidence. But something I noticed in the Canadian commercial industry is that the ad agency people are in control, and they hire a director. And I've been on a ton where anyone could have done it.
Yeah.
Totally.
You know, I don't mean to, because and I've seen them just. I'm embarrassed for them. For the director.
The director, right.
Because the director has a vision.
Right.
I once was on a spot where we set up 4 cameras on a car, and the director's, he knows what he wants. This is what he wants. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And it took hours. And then
Just
the
the-
agency person comes over and said, no. The car's got to be facing that direction. It's got to be doing that. And they went, whoa. And they changed it all. So I felt bad for the director. What was the purpose of hiring that person?
So here's the thing. That director is at fault, and I'll tell you why.
Fuck.
What I do. Oh, he is. I'll tell you why. What I do before I get on the set, in the pre-production meeting, I tell everybody exactly what is going to happen.
Yeah.
Exactly which way the car is going to face, and exactly what the shots are, and exactly what the purpose of the shots are. And this is my vision. This is how it's going to cut, and this is how it's going to look, and this is how I hold up a picture that I took on location. See that I'm going to color it like this. It's going to be dark like this, and I just tell them everything before we shoot. And if
This
we
is
have,
something that's going away.
That's
It's
experience.
going away right there.
if you have any issues, now is the time to talk about it, because tomorrow I'm not going to talk about it. Tomorrow I have to execute.
Right.
We got a long day.
That goes back to what you said earlier, why you're making it purple,
Yeah.
as opposed to just
Absolutely.
liking purple.
Absolutely. So no one's going on the set saying, why are we doing this? And it happens. Someone will say, oh, I didn't know the car was going to be like this. And I'll say, remember I showed you this yesterday?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
You know, so the
Yeah,
car's-
there's a lot of this. I see DPs and directors kind of maybe not using these words, but it's like the trust me thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm a younger guy, but I've been around it forever. And I remember when they had boards and they stuck to every friggin' thing, and everything was already laid out and there was no surprises. And now it's all surprises. Everything.
A lot of it.
So
A lot of it.
So what's happened with the business now is the internet has changed everything, because now, so if GM had $100 million they were spending on advertising 20 years ago, that was pretty much TV.
Yeah.
They were spending it all on TV. Now they've got websites, they've got TikTok, they've got so many different sources, and they didn't give more money. They just split that 100 million up. So now, and you have to feed the beast. If you're not producing content every day and changing that Instagram picture every day, you're behind
Every single day.
because somebody's doing it. So it's become a more of a retail kind of thing, like pump it out, ads. So there's no more, we're doing a three spot campaign for the year. No more of that. Now it's you got to pump it out. And so there's no time. They're not spending the time crafting. They're spending the time shooting.
That's what we talk about.
We
making,
talk about-
making
yeah.
films. We talk
All
about it
the
all the
time.
time to filmmakers.
This exact thing. Yeah.
That what used to take hours, days, and a week to make one decision on an edit,
Yeah.
because you're cutting film,
Yeah.
it's now this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Some of the best
Press
decisions.
buttons. Oh, not that.
Yeah.
You know.
Some of the best decisions in the world take a week or a month or something.
And when you're
Not all
shooting,
the
when
time.
you're shooting and you're using film,
Oh yeah.
you really have to think about what
Yeah.
you want first,
Yeah.
and maybe have a couple of rehearsals.
Yeah.
And you may only get 3 takes.
Yeah.
Or you're
It's expensive.
Don't have, you have
It's
four
expensive.
days at the end of the movie without film.
Yeah, it's expensive, and that's where I do my own shooting boards, and I don't have any with me. But if you look at my shooting boards and look at my commercials, you can see they look identical. What I drew and what I shoot are identical. So I walk on the set. I'm I'm not trying to figure stuff out. I've already done that. I've already figured it out. I'm executing. So I'm looking at my board and saying, okay, this is a wide angle looking down the street. There's a car coming around the corner and it's 20 feet away and it's a 35 millimeter lens. That's all written on my thing.
Am I driving that car?
Yeah.
I love that spot.
Yeah. So, and so I've predetermined everything in my head.
Yeah.
I know how it's going to cut. I know I've planned it all. I've thought about it. I typically will spend, if I'm shooting on location, I'll go to that location 4 or 5 days in a row and sit there and just look at every angle and take a camera and take a picture and draw it. And I'll do my shooting boards. When it's shooting time, I always like to say, if I didn't show up on shoot day, between the meetings I've had and the tech scout, the spots should look the same.
Interesting.
Because everyone knows.
I'd like to do that
Interesting.
experiment.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
I know.
Yeah.
Because if everyone follows my boards,
Yeah, man.
framed the way I drew it, it'll turn out very similar because it's all been planned. And so, all the big movie guys I work with, the big movie ADs and DPs, all just say to me, "Holy fuck, man! Like,
You've come prepared.
you should do a movie. You really should do a movie."
Okay, so speaking of movies,
Yeah.
speaking of movies, let's talk about Hollywood. Like, what the fuck? Why aren't you directing features?
So I got to Hollywood, and Hollywood's the wrong word. I went to LA. I went to LA to do commercials. So Hollywood is a byproduct of just a section of LA, right?
Sure.
And Hollywood is more TV and movies. Commercials were second-class citizen in Hollywood. And so anyway, I got there and just kept my head down, working hard, doing a bunch of stuff. Started doing really good Pepsi commercials, and that was a big feather in my cap to try and finally get to do Pepsi ads. And I was doing a commercial with Kramer, Michael Richards from
Okay.
Seinfeld.
Cool.
And his agent was on the set, and his agent, we were talking, and by this time I had a pretty good reel, and he looked at just at lunchtime, he said, "Let me see your work." So I gave him a 3/4 inch tape, and he sat down in the corner, he watched it, and he came back and he said, "Wow, who represents you for movies?" I said, "Nobody. I don't." So I really don't want to do movies. And he said, "Oh, what are you talking about? I don't want to do movies. I'm happy doing this. I'm the king of the castle here. I don't want to do movies."
Can't sell aliens.
Yeah. So he said, no. I'm going to get you the best freaking movies. Just tell me you want me to represent you, and I will get you the best movie in the world. So I said, all right, send me some scripts. I'll read them. So he started sending me scripts, and they were, I'd read them, and I'm not a good reader. I don't have the attention span. Like 2 hours to read a script. So for me, I'll read a few pages, put it down, read a few pages. So if he called me on Monday and said, "Did you read the scripts I sent you?" He sent me 3. I said, I'm halfway through the first one. I'll get it.
That's great.
And he didn't like, Steve, you got to read them. I'll read them. Like, go away. I don't want to do a movie. So anyway, so he started. I read some scripts and I didn't like anything. It was all just crap. So I just said. So he said, I just want you to meet some people. I just want you to go around town and just say hi. Just you're a new face in town and just meet some people in Hollywood. So I said, okay. So he set up meetings for me, go see movies, go see meetings. I met Mel Gibson. I met all the heads of Mark Platt, who ran Universal. I met tons of really important people. And, Spielberg's office called me to meet me, and I was busy. I couldn't go.
Oh, that makes sense.
Wow.
Mr. Spielberg would like to have a meeting with you. And I was like, I'm flying out tonight to Africa. Can I call when I get back? Sure, yeah, call when you get back. How long you be gone? I'll be gone 3 weeks. Okay. So I call when I get back, and they didn't even know who I was. I was like,
Oh my God.
you missed it. Oh,
Oh.
well. But anyway, so I started going to these meetings, and typically in every meeting they say, so what kind of work do you want to do? Like, who are your favorite movie makers, filmmakers? What kind of movies you want to make? And at the time, the Coen Brothers.
Okay.
I loved Blood.
Sure.
I loved Blood Simple. I loved Hudsucker Proxy. I loved Coen Brother movies. So I said, Coen Brothers. I like their sensibility. Like if I could pick somebody that my style would be, that'd be them. The dark comedy kind of stuff. And so I went to about 6 meetings, and the guy calls me, the agent guy calls me, and he says, how'd the meeting go? I said, good. He said, yeah, they liked you a lot. Just got to talk to you about something. When they ask you what movie you like, I hear that you're saying Coen Brothers. So I said, yeah, I love them. He said, they don't make any money. Don't say Coen Brothers.
Wow.
He said, don't say Coen Brothers, because they want to hear box office. They want to hear movies.
The movies that brought the cash in.
Incredible.
Yeah. So those are artsy movies. Don't just pick some other ones. So I said, like what? Like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, or
Oh.
So I said,
okay.
Okay, just like commercial hits that you like. Okay. So I started saying, Midnight Run, stuff like that. Oh yeah, we love that. Yeah. So I couldn't say Coen Brothers anymore. So I went,
Oh my God.
So I went to all these meetings, and then I got a script from Disney, George of the Jungle, with Brendan Fraser, but he wasn't in it at the time. So I got the script, and my agent calls me, and he said, they love your reel. They're sending you the script. They want to talk to you about this movie. So he says, Steve, I got to tell you, you do this movie, you're set. I said, why? He said, it's Disney. They're going to promote the crap out of it. It's going to make $150 million. They're going to have McDonald's cups. It's going to be a huge money maker.
And it was, right?
Yeah. And you'll be able to write your own ticket. So I said, okay. So I went in and met with them. The meeting also entails your vision of the movie, like what you would do with it, so I read the script, and I made some notes of ideas I had. I went in, met with them, and I left the meeting. And one of the ideas I had was I wanted Mel Gibson to be George.
Okay.
Because George of the Jungle in the cartoons is a little guy, and Mel's a little guy.
Yeah.
So I said, I want Mel Gibson to be George of the Jungle, and they were like, oh, that's great. Oh yeah. So anyway, agent calls me, and he says, how'd the meeting go? And he knows how the meeting went already. I said, it was good, I think. And he says, it was great. They want to hire you. What? Wow. So I said, cool. That's great, I think. Yeah, good. They want you to do it. So I said, okay. So he said, go back in tomorrow. There's a meeting at 2:00. They're going to shake hands, and you're going to meet everybody, and we'll sign the contracts, and we're going to make this movie. So I was like, wow. Okay, and how much they paying me? Well, the DGA minimum is $125,000. That's what you're going to get, first-time director. So I was like, okay, that's not much, because I gotta take a year off my career, close my company for a year for $125,000. Okay, all right. I'll make a good movie, and then I'll make a lot of money after. So went in the next day and met everybody, met the producers and this guy, David Hoberman. Oh, in the meantime, I called my buddies, people I work with a lot, all from the movie world. And I said, hey, Disney just hired me. And they're all like, oh, no. I was like, what? Yeah, they hired me to do George of the Jungle. Oh, Steve, I don't know if you want to work for Disney, Like, oh my God, like I know you. You're not going to put up with that shit, So I said, no. What shit? Well, they call it Mauschwitz, Mauschwitz. Yeah, I said they're like Nazis on the set. Like they beat the crap out of directors. Like they're on the set. Like, you didn't shoot enough shots today. You didn't meet your day today. You didn't, like, they're on you all the time. And they fire. If you're behind a few shots, they'll fire your AD, and then they'll fire your DP, and then they won't fire you. They'll take all the people away from you, around you, and put their people in.
Well, that's interesting.
To make sure it moves. So I said, okay. So I said, oh, well, okay. So I thought, okay, that's bad news. I don't want to hear that, So I can get along with anybody. So I went to this meeting, and I met this guy, David Hoberman, the producer. And I meet everybody. It was a very cordial meeting there. Everyone's excited. Everyone's happy. Everyone's, this is going to be fun. This is going to be great. Congratulations, blah, blah, blah. I'm in the big boardroom at Disney where everyone has been. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. This is Hollywood. Oscars everywhere. And I was like, wow. Anyway, so I as I'm leaving the meeting, Hoberman, the producer, walks up and he puts his arm around me and he says, "First time, huh?" So I said, "First movie." So he says, "Don't worry, me and you are going to do this together. I'll help you. I'll direct this with you."
Whoa.
And I just said, "Oh,
That
yeah."
wasn't-
And I just chuckled. And I get in the elevator. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, what does he mean by that? So I get downstairs. I get on the phone. I call all my friends. "Do you know David Hoberman?" "Oh, he's a prick." "Oh, yeah, he's a bad dude. He's a prick. He's not a good guy. Not a good guy." I'm like, fuck. So I call my agent. I say, "Hey, David Hoberman, the producer." He said, "Yeah." I said, "Everyone tells me he's a prick." He said, "Well, he used to be a prick. He used to be a prick." Yeah. So I said, look, I don't want to spend a year with this guy if he's going to be like this. And he told me he's going to direct it with me. That's not going to happen. So we need a different producer. Got to call his boss and tell him we got to get a different producer. So he calls me back and he says it's his movie. He brought it to Disney. So he's on it. So I said, "Well, I'm not." I quit. And he says, "What?"
Wow.
I said, "I'm not going to spend a year of my life co-directing a spot with a prick. Not going to,
Right on.
for peanuts. Not
Damn. Yeah.
Not going to." So I said, I quit. So when they signed me, the Hollywood Reporter, Chase directing George of the Jungle, front page, Steve Chase, commercial director, first time feature, blah, 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 blah. 3 days later, Chase quits George of the Jungle. So
Wow.
I quit, just like that. Boom, done. So, the agent's like, okay. Okay. So now he knows that I'm not just going to.
Now he knows who he's working with.
He also knows that I'm not just going to jump on a movie.
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Other directors are dying to do a movie. I'm not. And
Right.
That annoys everybody. So he starts sending me more scripts. And I get a script I like. There was two of them. One was called Blue Streak,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking A.
and one was called Money Talks.
Okay.
So I get them both, and I read them, and they're both buddy movies. They're both like 48 hours coming. It was right after 48 hours success.
Who ended up being in Blue Street?
Martin
Martin
Lawrence.
Lawrence.
And,
Right.
Yeah. So that's the one I wanted to do. I read it, and I liked it, and I went to a meeting, told them what I thought about it. Same time I had Money Talks. I went to a meeting at New Line, told them what I liked about it. And there was another one at Mandalay Pictures that I read, and all three of them wanted to hire me at the same time.
Man.
So my agent calls me and he says, "Which one you leaning towards? Like, which one do you like?" And I said, "I really like the concept behind Blue Streak. It's a crook that becomes a cop.
Yeah.
The
It's a good movie. It was a good movie.
It's a crook that becomes a cop, and he's the best cop because he's a crook, So I said, I like the concept. It's a great idea, strong idea. I like that. Could be a funny movie. And he says, okay. And what about Money Talks? I said, yeah, I like it. It's it's 48 hours, same kind of thing. So he says, don't pick yet. You don't have to pick yet. Three people want you, so I'm going to create a bidding war, and we're going to get you more money. Okay. So he calls me back. Next day, and he says, all right, New Line is going to make you the highest paid first-time director in the history of Hollywood. So I said, wow. They're going to give you $750,000 to do Money Talks. Blue Streak offered you $5. So it's $750,000. Okay. All right. So I took Money Talks. This is the long story.
Yeah, it's all good.
It's all good.
So Money Talks, in the script, it's Chris Tucker, Charlie Sheen. Chris Tucker was attached to the film already. He had just finished the movie Fridays.
Yeah. Ice Cube movies.
Fridays was a hit. He was now a star because of that movie. Hadn't done any other features. That was it. So New Line gave him $1 million pay-or-play deal, and they gave him the script. They said, "This is the movie we're going to do for you. You're going to be the star of this movie." So he was like, "Yeah, man, cool." So I agree to take on the money talks thing. I meet with the studio and they say, you know, Chris Tucker's attached to it. He's going to be the star. Here's $25 million. It's a $25 million budget. Go make a great movie. So it's okay. And they left me alone. Like they were really, looking back on it, it was it was a really good situation. Where it went sideways was Chris Tucker. So Chris, while we were prepping the movie, I prepped the whole movie 3 months. I prepped it like to the point where you could walk into our production offices in Hollywood and Vine. We had a whole floor of a building, and you could walk from one corner of the room, and see the whole movie laid out on the wall. Every scene, I storyboarded myself. Every prop, every picture was just, here's scene 1, here's scene 2, here's scene 3. And you could literally walk and see the movie play out on the wall. So I was so prepped. And even the producer was Walter Koblenz, who did like big Hollywood, All the President's Men and famous Oscar-winning movies. He was my producer, and he said, I've never seen a director more prepared. Like, this is crazy what you've done. Thanks. You know, I cast, it was a real eye-opening experience because I learned a lot about Hollywood. You know, like I in the movie, during the casting process, all of a sudden I get a million phone calls a day from agents. And I never knew this was going to happen, but they're phoning me saying, hey, would you consider this person for this role? They all had the script, and notes go out by the casting agent, you know, like we're looking for a 35-year-old woman we're looking for.
Sure.
So they go out, but they would call me directly. I ended up having to hire an assistant just to take those calls because all day long. I couldn't, music, people, everything, all day long. Couldn't work. So I'd get calls like, you know, so I did casting sessions. I found a girl for a part, and I wanted a new young actress, and she was great. And then I get a call saying, hey, Heather Locklear wants to meet you. Okay. She wants to be in the film. Okay. You know, she'd be great for this part. I already have her. I already have that part cast. You know, and they're like, and the studio is now saying to me, well, it'd be really good if you cast Heather Locklear. Well, I already got that part cast. I like who I got. Yeah, but Heather Locklear is just coming off of Melrose Place, and she's a big star. If her picture was on the poster, it would make a lot of money. This girl nobody knows. So we would really like you to use Heather Locklear. And my instinct is to say, no, I'm using who I want to use, thank you. But will you just meet her? Okay, meet her. So Heather Locklear comes into my office one day, we talk. Yeah, it's great, very nice meeting you. Yeah, she's cute as a button. You know, would she be good in it? Yeah. But I cast somebody already, and I was happy with them. So she leaves, and then, you know, the agents say, well, she won't read for you. She's a star. You know, she's not going to audition. Okay. So she leaves, and as soon as she leaves, like, the phone was ringing. So what do you think? What do you think? Yeah, she's nice. Yeah. You're going to use her? No. I got somebody already. So they're like, okay. So now I've got another role. Ended up using Paul Sorvino.
Okay.
So I met with Paul. Nobody reacted well to the script because it's a buddy comedy. So I just begged for meetings. The same way the agent begged me to meet Heather, I begged to meet Paul because I want to show him my work. I want to show him my sensibilities. I want to tell him how I'm going to do it. And I promise you he'll love the script after I talk to him about it. And that's what happened. I would meet with people that didn't want it, that turned me down, and I'd meet with them, and they would hear my passion, and they'd hear how I was, you know, I'd walk them through the boardroom and show them everything, and they'd be like, wow, okay, you know. So Paul was like that, but Paul's price tag was too much for that part. You know, it was broken down. You got $1 million for this character. You got this, you know, whatever. Paul's price tag was too much. So I said, you know, the producer comes to me, we can't afford Paul, and his agents aren't going to give us a deal. Shit. I get a phone call an hour later. So you like Paul Sorvino? Yeah. Tell you what, you hire Heather Locklear, we'll pay for Paul Sorvino.
There's a game.
Oh my God.
So I said, wow, okay. Okay.
Bye.
You got it. So
Oh, you got it.
yeah, I wanted Paul.
That's
Paul,
awesome.
Paul was a more important character.
Yeah, of course.
So I said, okay, deal. So I sold my soul there. But so anyway, so all this time I'm prepping 3 months. Chris Tucker is not there. Chris Tucker is actually shooting a bit part in a movie in Paris, The Fifth Element.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He plays a whacked out character. Just
Yeah. With the big weird hair and stuff.
yeah. So he's shooting that in Paris while I'm prepping. So he comes into we're 12 days away from principal photography, and he comes into the office. First time I meet him, boom, comes in. Oh, in the meantime, I convinced Charlie Sheen to do it. I got Russ Carpenter, the DP from Titanic. He came on board.
Wow.
He came on board. So again, he didn't want to do it, but I met with him and showed him my work, and he was like, "Wow, okay." So I convinced him to do it, and so I convinced Charlie to do it. So it was a lot of work to get good people on it, because it was just another dumb comedy. You know?
Right.
So they all believed I was going to try and make it different. But anyway, so Chris now comes to town 12 days before principal photography, and he walks in the production office, and I meet him. We talk, and he's nice guy. And I said, "Come on, let me show you around. Let me show you what we're doing." So I take him through the room and through the movie. And he stops at like scene 2, and he says, "Who's that?" And he's looking at a character on the casting picture. I said, "Oh, that's these are the 2 cops. Is a black cop?" "Yeah, he's a black cop." I don't want no black cops. I don't want no black cops. That's just cliche shit. I don't want no black cops." Okay, we go to another scene, and he says, "What's that?" I said, "Oh, that's what's that location?" "No, that's the LA Coliseum, the big shootout at the end." "No, I don't want to do it at LA Coliseum, man. I want to do it in the laneway, in an alleyway, Okay. So we go through the whole movie, and it's just, he's got problems with everything. I'm like, all right.
Why? What?
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. So he's just really problematic. But so I cut the whole thing short a bit, because I could see it was not going good places. So I cut it short. I said, "Look, we got a script read through. I look at my watch. We got a script read through now, where everyone's coming. Charlie Sheen, everyone's coming. We're sitting around a table. We're going to read through the script. So go have a coffee downstairs. Go have a coffee or some lunch. Come back. We'll do the read through." Okay. So okay. So everyone arrives. We're sitting in a boardroom. Chris isn't there. I'm like, "Fuck, where the fuck is Chris?" And I don't even know if cell phones were that. They were used, but I didn't have his cell number. I would have called him. But anyway, Chris didn't show up. So I'm doing Chris's part. I'm reading with everybody. Chris walks in like an hour late. We're 60 pages into the script, and I said, "Chris, you're an hour late." "Yeah, man. Yeah, I was just downstairs talking, shooting the shit." Okay, sit down. We're on page 52. You pick it up. So he sits down, opens the script, and Charlie says something. Paul Sorvino says his line, and then there's dead silence. "Chris, it's you." "What?" "Chris, your line. You have to answer what Paul said, so Charlie can answer you." And he says, No, man. That's not how we're going to ad lib. We're just going to ad lib. Like, I just want ad lib. There's no, like, this script, no. Just throws the script away. Like, we're going to ad lib. We're going to set the scene. We're going to ad lib and make it funny. So I'm looking at him like, and Paul Sorvino, he's in The Godfather.
Yeah, man.
He sort of stops. He looks at me, and I was just like, oh. And he sort of nodded to me like, "I got this." And he looks at Chris and he says, "Chris, I'm a classically trained actor." And he holds up the script. "This is the Bible. This is what we're doing. I don't ad lib." And Chris is looking at him like terrified. and he says, "Yeah, man, well, I just did Fridays, and we ad libbed, and it was like, I wanted to say he just did The Godfather," and like
Yeah.
Chris probably never saw The Godfather. But anyway, so again, I could see it was not going well. Chris was agitated. Everybody's agitated. So I just said, "All right, let's just call it for today. Thanks, guys." And I just looked at everybody like they all knew what was coming. So I said, "Okay, let's just let's just call it. We'll get back together at the end of the week or something. I'll call you. So everyone leaves. Says, Chris, can you stay for a bit? So we talk, and he says, I said, Chris, you know, these are some really famous, good actors here. And he's, they're hacks. Charlie Sheen's a fucking hack. He's a hack. He's a hack. He's a hack. And sorry about that.
Take it if you need to.
No, it's spam. Charlie Sheen's a hack, and you know, and all they make is flop, 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 flop. So I was like, all right. So, and in my mind's racing. I'm like, how am I gonna deal with this? Like, I gotta get somebody in here to handle this guy because he's destructive. So he had to go to a wardrobe call at Warner Brothers to get we had all the wardrobe laid out for him. And so I said, because you got to go to Warner Brothers now for a wardrobe call. So he goes, and about an hour later, I get a call from the wardrobe girl. She says, hey, we got a problem. What? Chris doesn't want to wear the wardrobe you picked for him.
Jesus.
He doesn't want to wear the wardrobe. No, why not? Like the first wardrobe was, so Chris in the movie plays a ticket scalper. Plays a ticket scalper working at a car wash, and he scalps tickets, and he gets caught with some bad dudes, and he gets put in jail for ticket scalping, and when he's in jail, he gets in a cell with a really badass dude, and he's handcuffed to him, and they get stuck together for the.
Okay.
So Chris is now wanted big time because there was a murder and he's implicated. So that's the whole movie. That Chris is fish out of water. Good guy, stuck with bad guy, and now he's not in his world. And that's the comedy there. He's struggling to exist in this world. Chris wants to be a bad guy. He doesn't want to be a guy. He wants to be a drug dealer, not a ticket scalper. He wants to be a badass. I want to sell dope. I don't want to sell tickets. That's whack. My fans want to see me a badass. They want to see me. And I'm like, Chris, no, we have to pull for you. We have to like you. Your character... You have to be an innocent guy who gets stuck in a bad world. If you're a bad guy selling drugs in a bad world, no one cares. No one gives a shit if you get whacked. No, man, my fans ain't going to like that. So I'm like, fuck. So I don't want to wear I forget what the wardrobe was, but I'm not wearing that. I'm not wearing that shit. No, I'm not. So I just want to wear a tank top and jeans. So I was like, fuck. So I called the studio. I said, we got a problem. You know, Chris hates the script. Basically, Chris hates the script. Like, did you guys, and we had just spent $300,000 rewriting the script. I worked with some writers just to punch up. It cost $300,000 to punch up some jokes and to punch up some of the action scenes. So we hired a guy who just does action. We hired a guy that just does comedy. And I worked with them for like 3 weeks evolving the script. Everyone loved the script, except Chris. So call the studio. Studio says, well, you're the director. Deal with it. Mike DeLuca, who ran New Line at the time, a little punk. Just, he had a coke habit. It came out later, but he was always coked out and just a punk. So he was a little guy, a little loudmouth, and he basically yelled at me, get the fucking thing under control. You're the director. Okay. So I called Chris and I said, so Chris, here's the deal. That script you have with the pink cover, yeah, that's the one we're doing. We're not changing anything. And you're going to go to wardrobe again. You're going to try on the wardrobe I picked. No, man, I'm the director. I'm in charge. Go do it.
That's what you're doing.
And if you don't like it, you can be replaced. And he hangs up on me. My phone rings like 50 seconds later, and DeLuca, you can't fire Chris Tucker. You can't fire. You told me to take charge. I took charge. You can't fire him. If you fire him, it costs us $1 million because we got his pay deal, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So I can't fire him. So how do I get control of this kid? Figure it out. Okay. So he's yelling at me. So I hang up. I call him again. I said, okay, Chris, seems like we're stuck together here. So tell you what, this is the way it's going to be. I'm the director. This is what we're shooting. Go put that wardrobe on. We'll get this done. And he says, well, I'm the executive producer. I ain't wearing that shit. I said, you're the executive producer? Yeah, man. So I hung up the phone, called the studio. Is Chris Tucker executive? Is Chris Tucker executive producer? Wow, it's just a title we gave him. Well, he's using it. He just told me he's not doing what I want to do because he's the executive producer. So I was like, I said,
fuck.
I want a meeting. I called my agent and I said, call DeLuca. I want a meeting with him tomorrow morning and Chris Tucker. I want to clear the air and I want to get this straightened out because I'm not doing this. So he calls a meeting, and the next morning I arrive at New Line. Chris is there. I'm there, and I see my lawyer, entertainment lawyer. I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Agent told me I should be here." Oh, okay. Because I also told my agent, tell DeLuca if he yells, I'm going to hit him. If he raises his voice, I'm going to reach across his desk and shove my fist down his throat. And I'm not joking. He's not going to fucking yell at me because I will fucking hit him. So that's
Fucking
when the lawyer showed up.
That's great.
So now the lawyer's there. So before I go in the meeting, someone comes out and hands me this piece of paper. And on the paper is a list of things Chris Tucker wants to change. Like 100 things. Like I'm not exaggerating. Like just like page after page of what?
Is this common?
No.
Okay.
No. Well,
Ish.
different, and you'll understand why in a second.
Okay.
But so, and the changes he wants to make were not like, you know how I said I don't like purple.
Yeah.
They weren't strategic. They were just his. I like tank tops. So stupid, like in the movie, he's married. He's a young, he's got a young wife at home who's expecting a baby. So he's in more trouble now because he can't take care of his family and blah 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 blah. But so anyway, the first thing, I don't want to be married. Chris does not want to be married in the movie. So anyway, so we're sitting in the so the word I get is DeLuca is going to back you. He's going to support you because me. Yeah. DeLuca's going to support Steve because we spent so much money on a script. Everybody loves the script. He's going to straighten Chris out for you. Okay. So I'm going to the meeting thinking this is great. Okay. He's going to straighten him out. So here's his list. So we're sitting in the meeting and I've got the list. Chris doesn't have the list. DeLuca's got the list. And DeLuca's looking at the list. Chris, okay, first scene. You don't want to be married. No, man, I don't want to be married. My fans know I'm a player. I got girlfriends everywhere. I don't want to be married, man. That's not cool. That's not cool, man. So DeLuca looks at me and he says, "That's not such a big deal, is it?"
Oh, Jesus.
Like we could change that. And I said, we could. Next one. Chris doesn't want to be a ticket scalper. And he looks at Chris, well, why not? Oh, man, that's not the ticket scalper. That's not fucking dope. Like, I want to be like a weed dealer. I want to be a weed dealer. I'll be tough and street kid, like. And DeLuca looks at me and he says, that's not such a big deal, right?
What?
Like, and he just caved all the way down the list. And I even gave my reasoning. I said, Mike DeLuca, Mike, we got to like the guy. He's got to be he's got to be a likable character. He's a drug dealer. No one cares about him. So DeLuca was like, I could see his point. And he's looking. He just caved on every.
Yeah, because he cared about his drug dealer.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. He understood the drug dealer part. So he went through the list and he caved all the way along. And I didn't tip my hand. I didn't show any sign of revolt in that meeting. So I said, I was just very agreeable, and we left the meeting. My lawyer says, "Well, that went well." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, everybody's happy.
Nobody got hit.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, exactly. Nobody got hit. It's fine. It's fine. Like, everyone's happy." So I just said, "Where's your office from here?" He said, "It's just across the street." I said, "So 5 minutes you'll be in your office?" Yeah. 5 minutes. You call DeLuca, tell him I quit. I'm done. And he says, "Why?" I said, "I'm not." He fucking caved on every stupid thing. He didn't support me. He supported Chris, and I'm not making that movie. I'm making the movie they hired me to make. So I said, "You tell him I quit." So he calls me back, and he goes to his office. I'm driving home. He calls me, and he says, I told him, okay, he's going to sue you.
Oh, fuck.
he's going to sue me. Like, for how much? He said, well, if you walk out today, it's going to take 3 to 4 weeks to find a replacement and get them up to speed. So $700 million they'll sue you for.
Wow.
So I said, okay. So what do you want to do? So I said, let me think about it. So I started thinking, I got to get fired. I got to get fired off this movie.
Okay.
How do I get fired?
Okay.
So I call my lawyer. I called my lawyer back and I said, I got to get fired. And he said, got to be careful there. He said, you can't do something egregious that they can still sue you about. So that's a risky slope there. So I said, well, like, you can't premeditate and do something obvious. So I said, I understand. So I started thinking, how could I get fired? Just go with the flow, be very agreeable, just get on the set, and I won't complete my first day. I won't even get half a day done. They'll fire me. I'll just get there and they'll fire me. I'll get on the first shot and I'll keep shooting take after take after take after take, and I refuse to move on, and they'll fire me. So I called my agent. I said, this is what I'm going to do. And he said, oh, don't do that. So
Wish we did Blue Streak, man. Oh, fuck.
So I said, okay, get me another meeting with DeLuca. So I went in the next morning, just me and him, no lawyer this time. And I said, look, 3 months ago, you asked me to take care of your $25 million house. Here's my house. Can you take care of this house? Here's $25 million. Take care of it. And I said, okay. And then you said, oh, by the way, there's a kid living in the basement. His name is Chris Tucker, and he's part of the house. I said, okay. And I said, fine, it sounds great, no problem. Then I called you about 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, and I said, hey, this kid Chris Tucker, he's playing with matches. Like, he doesn't like this house. He's playing with matches. And you said, you fucking take care of it, you're the director. Like, you're in charge of that house, you take care of it. And I tried to kick him out of the fucking house, and you wouldn't let me. You said, he's staying in the house. So I'm telling you today, your fucking house is on fire. This kid hates the script. He hates what's happening. And instead of you worrying about your house, you're threatening to sue me. I just want to get out of the fucking fire. But your house is burning, buddy. You should take care of your house. I'm telling you that right now. So I don't want to get sued. I don't want to bring me through this, my family through this. So give me the $25 million. I'll go shoot this piece of shit. We'll get it done. And I left. I walked out. I got a call on the way home saying, what did you say to him? I said, I told him, just give me the money, I'll shoot this shit. And he said, you don't have to come in tomorrow.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, to finish the whole story.
So you got yourself fired. Damn.
Well, no, I quit. I quit. He didn't sue me.
Okay.
So, now they bring in Brett Ratner. His first movie. He had never done a movie. But he had done music videos with Chris. So Chris's buddy. They bring in Chris's buddy. So they get production going. I prepped the whole movie. So Brett Ratner just had to come in and say, action. There was nothing for him to do. He just wrote on my show. But first night of production, so they had to delay 2 weeks to get him up to speed. So first night they're shooting, the producer calls me. Oh, first of all, everybody wanted to quit when I quit. Charlie Sheen calls me. You quit? I quit. I'm quitting too. No, Charlie, don't quit. Fucking don't quit. They're going to sue me. You can't quit. So he says,
God.
Should I pause?
No. It's up to you, but
Well,
I think he's missing a good story.
He's
but-
going to want to hear the end of the story. So
Yeah.
I'll just pick it up.
Yeah. Let's pick it up there, but
Because the end of the story is the whole story.
yeah, fucking A, man. No, yeah, he's ditching at the wrong time.
It's okay.
But I guess the body does what it does.
It's okay.
Man. So at this point though, you're not getting this grief from anyone else.
No. It was just positive. Everything was positive. Like, it was such good energy, and everyone was, like I said, the producer, Walter Koblenz, famous guy, just said, like, wow, this is, and even he even called the studio and he said, I've never seen a director more ready. Like, this is crazy what he's done. So the studio was so happy, except this relationship with Chris. And
Yeah, crazy.
well, there's a big explanation coming.
I'm looking forward to it.
The punchline.
Hurry back, Randy.
Yeah.
This is a good time, though.
What are
to talk.
those?
Oh, that's for playing darts. It's a point system,
Oh, yeah, okay.
right? You got 3 of each, the 20
Yeah,
okay. down to the 13 there, whatever.
Right. Oh, yeah, I've never
And you
seen
got your doubles, triples, and bullseye. Yeah.
I've never seen a scoreboard like that.
That's kind of neat. I think it was a friend of theirs that made that for
Oh,
them.
very
I
cool.
can't remember who it was. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. And of course, there's the pool cues because this is the pool table. So.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
All right, no, so I stopped telling you.
No, I
So,
appreciate it.
so anyway, delayed 2 weeks. First night of production, I got a phone call from Walter, and the first night was at the Coliseum night shoot. So about 10 o'clock at night, my phone rings, and he says, "Steve, it's Walter." "Hey, Walter, how's it going? We're shooting tonight." "Oh wow, wow, that's crazy." And he says, "He can't read." I said, What are you talking about?
Whoa.
What are you talking about? Chris Tucker is illiterate. He cannot read. He never read the script.
Oh my God.
And my mind is racing.
Ad lib.
My mind's racing. Holy fuck.
Wow.
That's why he's walking around saying, "Who's that? Who's that? What's this character? What's it?" He cannot read. And I said, "Who knows this?" He said, "Just his agent. Nobody else." So I said,
Fuck.
"How did you find out?" His agent told me tonight. And my mind is like, holy fuck, all this makes sense. But I said, how did he make that list of things he didn't like? His agent did it with him. His agent wrote it all.
It's fascinating. So they ended up shooting at the Coliseum regardless.
Oh yeah. So they ended up doing that script.
Yeah.
They ended up doing that script. Someone read Chris the Riot Act after I quit.
But hence his need to ad lib.
Well, yeah, but no one knew. I mean, if I had known,
Yeah.
if someone had put me aside at the beginning and said,
Yeah. It would've
I
been
could
a
have
bit
figured out how to
different.
deal with it. But so I'm my mind is like blown. I'm like, what? What do you mean he can't read? He cannot read at all. I'm like, holy fuck! And now everything's going through my head. Ad lib. Oh my god. So I said, what are you doing? How are you doing it? He said, we just give him a line read before every take. And it forces cuts. It forces, he's not doing a big monologue. You gotta cut. So you got to have 2 cameras going wide and tight. And so I'm like, holy shit. So my mind is going like, holy fuck. He couldn't read. He never read the script. He wouldn't read the script with the crew. He didn't know who all the characters were. He didn't know there was a black cop. He didn't know there was, he didn't know any of it.
And he's done a million movies since.
Yeah.
All these rush hours. And
Well, that's all the same people.
oh,
All
wow.
the same producer, same everything.
Okay.
So rush hours were supposed to be mine. So in Hollywood, what happens?
Oh, jeez.
So in Hollywood, what happens is if you're a young, upcoming director, you sign a 3-picture deal. They don't sign you to 1.
Okay.
In case your first one's a hit, they own you for the next. They
Okay.
own you for the next 2. So the 3 pictures was Money Talks, Rush Hour.
Right. Okay.
So
Damn.
that was part of it. So anyway, so I was just like, oh, what the fuck? But the interesting thing was when I quit, when I walked out of that movie, I got before that talk I had about the house on fire and he said don't come back. I had told my agent I wanted to quit, and he was with William Morris.
Yeah.
William Morris called me into a meeting the day before. I was going to have that meeting with DeLuca, and all the big agents were in the room, big boardroom, and the head of William Morris, the guy who Entourage,
Ari Gold.
he's him in real life. runs
Fucking A,
William
man.
Morris. So
Okay.
he comes into the room and he says, Steve Chase, and he shakes my hand. He said, love your work. I'm like, yeah, okay. He says, so Spencer tells me you want to quit the movie. So I said, yeah, I'm going to go in there tomorrow, and I'm trying to quit, but he wants to sue me. So he says, I got to tell you, it could really damage your career. So I said, so if I quit, you're telling me I may never get another movie? And he said, yeah. I said, that's okay. I'm fine with that. And he's looked at me just shocked, like.
Yeah, you're an anomaly, brother.
I said, I never wanted to do a movie. This is just, I said, this is,
This was offered to me.
I said, I'm losing money. I'm going to lose a lot of money doing this fucking movie. Like, I got to close my company down. And they're like, they're used to directors begging to do the movie.
Yeah,
and I was saying, nah. And so the interesting thing that happened was word got out that I quit in Hollywood. And the next day, I was the hottest guy in Hollywood. Every guy, I got every script. Because this guy's got balls.
Yeah, man.
Balls.
Yeah, man. Wow.
It was a bizarre thing because he told me I'm going to ruin my career. It's the opposite. I could have done a million movies after that. Like, everybody wanted to hire me. It was like my agent called me and he said, like, I'm sending you 12 scripts tonight. Like, they all sent them because you're the badass that quit. Anyway, that's my one. That's my. That's those. Those are 2 movies I quit.
That's beauty, man.
We're gonna have to save the other 2 movies for
so,
part 2.
So, have you done a feature?
No. I told him to stop calling
It's
me.
just done.
I told him to stop calling me.
And you went back to work doing what you do.
Yeah.
Right
I
on,
went
man.
back to. I mean, I look back on it and my industry is turned into crap. Advertising is crap now. Like, it's so hard to find good work now. I used to have pick at a litter. Like, I had 10 scripts. Like, couldn't do them all. I would say, shit, man, they're all great. I would pick 3. But now it's like I get 10 and they're all garbage. So
Why do you think that is?
because of the internet.
Yeah.
Because you have to promote. They
Everything's
fast
too
turnaround.
fast,
pump it out.
constant.
That craft thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have to pump out content, so there's no crafting. It's just like, boom, next. I need one tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
So-
no thought.
It's just changed. Yeah. There are good projects every now and then, but very few. So now looking back on it now, it's like, would I like to do a movie now? Nah. I actually wrote there's two films that I've sort of taken an interest in, that film ideas that I've developed, but I haven't written a script. But there's people that know the ideas and are like trying to sell them for me. But will I ever do one? I don't know. Maybe I'll just sell the idea.
Right on.
Seems like nowadays and where you are, I mean, you're not going to get any lack of respect. That's for sure.
No, well,
You'll be able to do what you want.
I mean, looking back on it now, it's been long enough that I don't. I've quit 4. I've only told you about 2. So
Okay.
by the 4th one, people had enough of me. So did it damage my film career? Yeah, probably by the end.
Okay.
Probably by the end. So I think if after the 4th one, if you said my name, people would say, fuck off. Don't even talk about him by then. But now, 20 years, 15 years have passed. They're probably a little more people don't even know who I am again.
Yeah. Are you with the same agent?
No, I don't have an agent anymore.
Okay.
I told him this stuff. He was, now it's all digital, but at the time he was saying, do you know how much money I spent on couriers sending you fucking scripts and you haven't shot a movie yet? You got to shoot one just to fucking pay the courier bill, okay?
That is wild. I mean, do you think about like the rush hours and stuff? I mean, those movies made gazillions of dollars.
I do. Hang on a second. I just got to answer this.
Yeah,
No worries.
if you're available, you are.
No, I just got to tell my family I'm going to the hospital.
No, I forget.
After lunch.
I forget.
No worries.
I forgot that line.
What's that?
If you're not available, you are. Not.
Oh no! If that's work, you're available.
Right. Yeah. Totally. I love that. It's so good. That's why. Yeah. That's good.
Right.
Going to hospital after lunch.
I'll just mark all this and
Yeah, doesn't matter.
does.
Yeah.
All right. So, anyway, where did we just stop there?
Well, we're talking about the
Rush
other
Hours
2
and-
movies, and the
Yeah,
Rush
so-
Hours making $1 billion.
Yeah, Here's the truth of it. I always felt Hollywood was really full of really not good people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it all came out.
The transparency of it all is now.
Yeah, it all
You
came
know,
out.
at one point they were worship, but you weren't seeing them on everything, all the time. But now that
They're all
the
exposed.
social media has made everybody accountable for what they've done, and you know,
and they're very it's brutally it's a vicious life. It's a vicious you know, it's like you're the best, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best. Oh, you're the best, you're the best. Hey, what about me? You're the best, you're the best. It's disposable. Like, people are disposable.
yeah.
You know, so who's hot? And they just chew you up and spit you out, and they're broken. Like,
Well, so now we've had the SAG strike and we've had the writer's strike in the past few months, year, whatever. Who are they? These studio execs that are getting their way and whatever. And please correct me where I might be wrong, but we got the new tech coming out and the AI and all this stuff. Are they winning? Like, in the end, are they going to win, or is the film industry just gonna?
So here's the thing, my perspective anyway. Hollywood's a different place. You know, real important distinction. It is the film business. It's a business. It's not an art. It's a business. It really is a business, and that's how they treat it. The people on the other side, the people writing the scripts and directing and shooting and filming, they're trying to make it an art. The people in Hollywood don't give a fuck what you want to do. It's a business. So whatever's going to make them money, they don't care who they crush.
But it's funny because eventually, with no integrity, nobody wants to listen to something that has nothing, that is completely. It's got a million holes in it. Who cares?
Well, here's the question then: why, if that's true, why are X-Men 17 still being made?
Oh, well, I agree, but do you? I mean,
You know,
yeah, fuck.
you know.
But don't you think that stuff eventually, like, people are going to smarten up a little and go, I mean, this is getting
No,
fuck.
because it is a business, and so it used to be. Disney had 4 companies. They had Disney, where Disney did PG movies. Then they had Buena Vista, which did 14 and over. And then they did the Harvey Weinstein's company.
Oh, yeah.
What do they call it? I can't remember.
Yeah, out of my head.
They did the artsy ones.
What the hell's it called? Yeah.
Miramax.
Miramax.
Yeah.
They did the artsy ones.
Okay.
And so and then they had another one. Can't remember the name, but they did the adult the 17 age one. So they just divided it up into, you know, and Disney was doing 12 movies a year, and they were doing 12, and they were doing 10. That's all gone. Like now, and I don't know if it's just a function of streaming and those companies are gone.
Yeah, I don't know which company it was, but recently somebody bought out, I hesitate to say a name, like MGM or something. They bought out their entire library and aren't taking any new IPs. They're just going to go back and repurpose the scripts and reshoot their movie.
Right.
Oh, my God.
Well, that's because it's just all...
It's a new audience.
So one of the most telling meetings I ever had in the Hollywood world, working on a different movie, I got a phone call one day to come in. They had some one of the other movies that I quit. I walked in and we had a meeting, and in the meeting there was a list of actors, and beside the list was money, numbers, not how much they wanted, but how much they would bring in box office.
Right.
And the casting decisions were being made. If we put him and him together, that's 80 million. If we put him and him together, they get, and literally they had numbers beside the actors' names.
Which is
I I mean, it's smart business. It's a business.
Yeah, it is, because that's the product they're selling, and why make the product if you can't sell it?
Of course. And that's where Charlie Sheen ended up with Chris Tucker, because Charlie Sheen is what at the time was a bankable
And Heather.
Yeah.
bankable white star who's huge in Japan, huge in the Orient. People loved him in Europe. So Chris Tucker was the black audience, and the black audience is worth this much money, and that's it.
Yeah.
And Charlie added to that,
Yeah.
and Heather added to that.
It all makes
Yeah.
So the
business-wise,
casting-
it makes
so,
sense.
So while I'm sitting there thinking about the art of it, oh, those two together is a great mix. That didn't mean anything to them. All they cared about is how much. Even to the point where, negotiations about names on the poster. All those names are negotiated. You got your name at the top of the poster. It's a negotiation. You're getting less money to get your name on the top of the poster. You get your name first on the top of the poster. Director, you get your name in the box. That's negotiated. A film by, that's negotiated. Directed by is the normal one. You want a film by, that costs you money.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
All negotiated. Yeah.
Interesting.
You got to pay for it. So
I want this badass project by. That's what I want.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
That'll cost you $30.
so so it truly is a business. So I'm not surprised by any. I'm never surprised now by any bad movies made, because why they're making all the Marvel movies, because it's the only thing that makes money.
Right.
And because of streaming, because of Netflix, because of Apple TV, because of there's only so many screens.
And it's all the same. They all do the same action sequences
do.
and do all the same
Yeah, they
shit, same stupid jokes.
They do.
So boring. I've never seen one. So give me a number. How many commercials have you shot?
So that's an interesting question. I would say, let's get back to the commercial world. I would say, like I did. I quit these movies.
Yeah.
That's enough of the movies. I never did a lot. I only did. So a lot of busy directors, and I had every opportunity to do it. But busy directors typically had 2 or 3 teams going at the same time. While I'm shooting one, my team.
You're prepping
my
another.
Second team is prepping the other,
Right.
finishing post on the last one. So it's a revolving 3-team thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you could shoot using that system. You could shoot 200 days a year. Using that system. So that would be 200 days a year. You're talking 100 commercials,
Yeah.
maybe. Or somewhere in there.
That's a lot, though.
Yeah,
That's
I could have done that. I had enough boards to do that.
Right?
I tried it for a couple of months. Tried to shoot that kind of have that system going. I hated it. Couldn't craft things my way. Couldn't keep an eye on everything.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And the quality was going to suffer. So I stopped. So I would do a project, not even look at another project while I'm doing that project, not even look at boards. So don't call me now, I'm busy. So I would do, I don't know, 15 a year.
Yeah, but that focus is respectable, man. Like
Well,
people.
Yeah, you bring in quality
Yeah.
stuff, man.
Yeah, well, and I always believed that. I always believed that it was never about money, because I could have made a lot more.
Mhm.
It was always about just doing, it's full circle. It was always about getting a pat on the shoulder.
And doing good
But you
work.
gotta feel good about that at this point in your life.
Yeah, I do because I feel I'm proud that I had integrity and I didn't sell out, and I didn't cave into Hollywood. I didn't let them take my.
Well, just that one moment with Heather.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
even that I didn't know. I didn't want to hire her. They paid me to hire her.
That's
Pretty
right.
much.
Unreal.
They traded Paul Sorvino for Heather Locklear.
So okay, so
So how many have I done? So 400 or 500.
yeah, okay, great. No, that's awesome. That's
A lot of
stellar.
commercials, man.
The so someone who's listening right now
Yeah.
or watching on YouTube, what advice would you give to someone who wants to enter the world that you played in all these years?
Wow.
Like to be a director of commercials.
Yeah, boy, I'm glad I did it when I did it, because it's a different world now. What would I tell them? So here's what.
Like I'd heard where you gave some advice to a young fella. You said you had two pieces of advice: never shoot a spec commercial
Yeah.
for an existing product,
Yeah.
because if you wanted to shoot a Nike spot, you better shoot the best Nike spot ever,
Exactly.
because they have in their vault the best Nike spots ever.
Exactly. You're trying to, by you deciding to do a Nike spot, you are now saying two things. You're now saying, I'm that good. I'm going to do a Nike spot, and that spot better be as good as anything out there, because no one's going to say, oh, he's just a beginner, it's okay.
Yeah,
You're sending this workout saying,
that's a really good mediocre spot. Let's hire him.
yeah, not going to happen. So, and the people you're trying to impress,
Yeah,
they're going to be pissed off
yeah,
that you think it's that easy.
exactly.
So my advice, and you heard that somewhere. My advice that it was always, if you want to do a Nike spot, do a Nike spot, but don't call it Nike. Call it dog shit shoes. Call it something else.
Yeah, dog shit shoes. I love that.
Like just make it a commercial. Make it look like a Nike commercial, but don't put a Nike logo on it. You're gonna people are gonna close the door, because ad agencies are proud. Creative guys are proud. They're gonna look at your work and say, this guy thinks he's as good as us. He thinks he's better than us. He's doing Nike. He's making up Nike spots. It's not that easy. You know, the guys writing the spots,
Yeah,
they just don't dream up an idea and say, hey, let's make a commercial. They have strategies. The client's telling them, you know, this shoe has air in the sole. You got to sell this. You got to, you know, and it's super light, and there's a strategy. There's a marketing team behind it. So it's not just somebody on a whim making a commercial shooting shoes. There's a message in there, and that message, and your spots better have that kind of quality of message. Otherwise, the people that you're trying to impress won't be. So don't pretend you can do a Nike spot. Make the best fucking dog shit shoe spot you can, and that'll impress them. You know, if you do a good job, it'll impress them. But
right.
And people always want to do spec spots. So I'm going to do a spec spot. Just heads up. You know, you imagine.
No, it's excellent advice.
I once had a guy, a music guy in LA. I'm in my office. I get a call one day, and I take the call. And it's a guy, young music guy, who says, I have something I want to show you, a reel I want to send you. Okay, sure, I'll watch it. He said, I took your work, I took your reel, and I redid all the music on all your commercials to show you what I can do. And I said to him, you redid all, so what you're telling me is that you think you're better than all the people that worked on my commercials and me, because I approved all that music, so you're telling me you're that good, huh? You're better than all of that. That's why you redid it. And there was dead silence. I said, I don't think you should send me that reel. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
I said, that's not cool.
Wild. Yeah.
You know, I said, you know, that's not cool. That's just like it's like, hey, look, I can do better than you.
Yeah. Well,
Because if it's not better, why you send it to me?
100%.
You don't think it's better, so you must think it's better.
true enough.
So don't do that. So
So you're still shooting?
So I don't know if you saw my Facebook page a couple of months ago. I had an eye injury.
I did.
Yeah, I was blind. I was blind for 75 days.
No way. What happened?
So I was born with a bum eye. I've always had a weak left eye, and I woke up one morning, July 1st. I woke up July 1st, and I couldn't see out of my good eye. I was like, whoa.
Oh.
It was all foggy and blurry, and I got to a hospital, and they said, you have a detached retina. And so
That happened to Kristen,
Yeah.
right?
I think so.
They put me in surgery right away. And what the surgery is, they put a gas bubble inside your eye.
Right.
So the retina is on the back of your eyeball, and when it detaches, it's like a blister. So what they do is they take all the jelly out of your eye, fill it full of gas, and the gas is high pressure, and it pushes the retina back against, and it holds it there while it heals. So it forces.
Jesus.
It's like a tube, an inner tube. So they push the inner tube back against the tire, and the pressure stays there until it heals. But 75 days it took for the bubble to go away. So when that bubble's in your eye, you can't see. It's like looking through motor oil.
Wow.
So I was blind.
What the
I was sitting at home like this. Like I couldn't see. I couldn't.
For 75 days.
Yeah.
You're just,
Yeah.
Jesus.
It was scary.
Okay.
It was scary too. I mean, I couldn't see.
Big time.
Yeah, that is scary.
I mean, I can see shadows and stuff like that.
What happened? Well, how did it happen? Does anyone know that?
No. So
You've been watching too much TV?
no. I mean, that's what I asked. Like, was it hockey? I still play hockey. Was it hockey? Doctor said the number one cause is. He said, "Did you ever have floaters in your eye?" I said, "Yeah." You ever have floaters?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually.
So what floaters is, the jelly in your eye. I'm doing a medical show now. Dr. Steve, you're
Yeah.
right back after this word. Ozempic. So the jelly in your eye, as you grow and age, the jelly gets thinner and thinner and thinner, and eventually, when you're really old, it's just liquid. So the floaters are jelly, little bits of jelly that are dissolving, and if they don't all dissolve properly, you get little shadows floating around.
Oh, I got it.
So what
One-
happens with some people is a floater gets, a piece of that jelly gets stuck on the retina, and it's just waving around like that in your eye, and you're moving your head, and it's waving and waving, and it tugs and it tugs and it tugs, and it pulls the retina off. He said that's the number one cause of it.
Well, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
said, no, he
Jeez.
said obviously it doesn't happen to everybody, but he said that's what we see mostly.
Shit.
When we open the eye, they cut your eyeball open. When we open the eye, we typically see the little jelly there.
And is your eye completely normal?
Yeah, so that was, so what happened was no one tells you it's going to be okay. Doctors can't tell you that, So like, will I be able to see again? Well, this is a very successful surgery. Yeah, but will I be able to see again? The odds are good. Like, no one's going to tell you everything's going to be okay. So as the gas started dissipating, it became like an oil level in my eye.
Wow.
It was dropping, so I could start seeing over the top of it.
Interesting.
Like, okay, I can see. But if I turned my head, it was like a level. Like, whoa, like the liquid in my eye.
Wow.
So anyway, but it was still all distorted because the liquid made all kinds of reflections, so I couldn't see perfectly. So finally, when the bubble went away, I could see, like, wow, okay, I can see. So I went back to the surgeon, and he said, okay, it looks healed, but we got to wait another 6 months to make sure everything's okay. Okay, but in the meantime, he said one of the byproducts of this surgery is cataract. You're going to get a cataract. So
Okay.
I said, okay, when? He said sometimes it happens right away, sometimes 5 years, but you're going to get a cataract. But he said that's nothing. That's a pretty easy surgery. And I was, okay. So, but 2 weeks after I could see again, I'm like, wow, I can see. I started getting a cataract. I couldn't see again.
Oh, fuck.
So it got to the point where sitting across from you here, I couldn't tell it was you.
Oh, wow.
I had to stop driving. So I was back at home again, and they wouldn't do the cataract surgery until
You were healed.
6 months had passed of this. So December 21st,
Holy
I
shit.
got cataract surgery. Now I can see.
So you haven't been able to shoot. Long story short.
Okay.
Oh, man.
But you're gonna.
My wife would prefer I didn't.
Really? Yeah?
She says, enough now, enough. Like, she says, just stress.
Well, you have an incredible home that you built. So she wants you to just stay there and enjoy that.
Well, yeah, it's part of it. It's part of it. Like she says, you've worked so hard, so long, and it's really stressful work. As
Sure.
much as I enjoyed it, it's, as you know,
Yes.
It takes a whole lot of effort and time. And
effort and time, and I care. I care more than anybody. I've had that conversation many times with agency people who say, when an ad agency hires you, they hope they're hiring someone that's going to take care of their baby. They're handing over their baby saying, can you bring this baby up for me?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And many times I've had to tell them, I care more than you do. I really care more than you do. Well, you can't care more than me. No, I do.
You can tell,
I
actually.
care. I care more than you. You know, and so I'm not going to drop your baby. I promise you. And careers are on the line. You know, and I know it. And I've been told that so many times. Man, if this doesn't turn out, my job, I'm going to lose my job. It's going to turn out. It's going to turn out. Just, you know, don't fuck it up. I've had that.
That's interesting.
Said to me many times. You know, don't give. This one's a killer. This is like even agencies. If this doesn't work, like we're going to lose this account.
Is your lady still working in?
No. She when we moved to LA, our daughter was like 3 months old. So I was allowed to work. I had work papers. She didn't have work papers.
Okay.
So I just stay home. I'll go stay home with the kid. I'll go work, and so
Nice.
she didn't have to, and everything worked out okay.
That's
Sweet.
fabulous.
Sweet.
I made more
It's
than
been a good life.
made more than $45,000 a year, so it was okay.
Nice. And you never did win that first director
Yeah.
award.
yeah.
That's so
No.
funny. That's a good story.
No, but I thought we were going to talk a bit about stunts here.
Stunts. Oh, we didn't have you come to talk about stunts.
So
Is there anything?
I have a philosophy about stunts.
Let's hear that one.
And stunt people. You know, like for me, it was always, I have a couple of good stories actually. Like I just somehow ended up doing big action things and car crashes and all kinds of crap like that. But just, it evolved into that. I was always the guy, if you got a spot that nobody else can do, call Steve, he'll figure it out. So that was a nice reputation to have. Give him the most difficult thing, he'll do it. But along the way, I started working with stunt people, and I really had to come to terms with when to push, how to push, how hard to push, you know. And I came up with a speech that I gave every time. It was always I would have a meeting with the stunt people and say, look, here's the deal. I'm going to ask you to go faster, lower, harder, bigger flame, bigger. I'm going to ask you to do that, and you're going to say no. I want you to say no. Do not just say yes. You're in charge of the stunt, not me. I'm going to push you, and you tell me when I push too hard. It's advertising. I don't want to hurt anybody. So, you know, I've lost 4 friends in accidents, like helicopter crashes, most of them. And I'm gonna, even pilots, I'll say the same thing. I'm gonna ask you to go lower, faster, harder, and you're gonna say no. Don't listen to me. But it's my job to get the best.
Absolutely.
To get the best out of it. But I need you to tell me no. So don't be afraid to tell me no. Like you're not going to offend me or impress me either way. So just, you know, because I don't want to hurt anybody. So that was my thing with stunt people, is always like,
But you told them up front.
Yeah.
I am going to ask for this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's my job. It's my job.
Big
like,
time.
The faster you can go, the lower you can go, the harder you can go, the better a shot's going to be. But there's a line, and I don't want to be the guy pushing you over that line. So
Right.
Totally, man.
you need to tell me.
But what's interesting is that it's going to be the stunt coordinator that's going to have to say no.
Yeah.
And if they don't, and they do push and go beyond their scope, people are going to get hurt.
Of course.
So there's ways of getting around that.
Yeah.
And it's called lying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you do this? Absolutely.
Well, that's
did he go
the other
faster?
thing, too.
He certainly did.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
Right. Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, okay. Yeah.
I had a director say, can she go faster? My daughter was driving.
Yeah.
Can she go faster? Yeah. How fast do you want? 100K. Come at 100K. She came at 100K. Not really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Second take. Can she go $140? Sure. Kristen, come at $140. Did she? Sure, Dad. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was doing 80
Yeah. Yeah.
every single take.
Yeah.
No one knew the difference.
Yeah.
And when I jumped in the car to go back to base camp, I said, so you just stayed where we talked, right? She said, absolutely, Dad, but I'll tell you, I didn't have a clue because the speedometer's broken. So, there's ways of getting around it.
Yeah,
Want to
yeah.
go faster? Go a little closer to the mat box.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's exactly. and it's exactly. You know, there are ways. Wide lenses make things look slow. You know?
Big time.
So let me put a tighter lens. We'll make it look faster. Or I'll shoot it at 20 frames instead of 24.
100%.
You know, just There's a lot. You're right. There's a lot of things.
Tricks. Yeah.
I had one job here in Toronto, and you'll remember the time. It was the first SAG strike,
Okay.
2003,
Yeah, it was a while back.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Young stunt guy got killed here on the Steven Seagal movie.
Hmm.
Fell off the back of a truck or something.
He jumped out.
Oh yeah.
I was in town that week. The town was so busy, over busy. Stunt people that weren't qualified were doing stunts,
Yes.
and
continue.
and I was victimized by it. I did an Xbox commercial. Did you see the one where the guy's jumping across the rooftops? So it's on the reel. It's for Xbox.
I think so.
At the end, they're doing tic-tac-toe on the roofs.
I can't.
So we were
Yeah.
filming. We were filming downtown Toronto, and we were. It was that week, and none of the main stunt guys were available that I knew. So it was all people I didn't know, and it's like there are people that one guy was a PA, and today he's driving a camera car. I'm like, whoa, I'm like, and everyone telling me the town is just too busy, and I was like, okay, it's crazy. So this Xbox thing. We did it with 2 cranes,
Yep.
pick point. So here's the roof, to roof. The pick point of the crane is here. So when the guy jumps, pick point's on the right. So when the guy jumps, the fulcrum, fulcrum of the crane pulls him to that side, right, because it's over here. So he jumps from this roof. If he didn't jump at all and just fell off the roof, he's going to swing to that edge.
Yeah.
Just by where the crane's positioned.
Yeah. So it was a pendulum.
Yeah. And over the landing area, so it pulls him there. So he doesn't have to jump hard at all. He just has to get it airborne. The second pick point on his neck, there's 2 on his neck. The second one is 5 stunt guys on the other side pulling a
Making
pulley
sure
to
he gets there.
give him elevation.
So he's on a high line.
Yeah. So as he jumps, crouching tiger, hidden dragon
Yep.
kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So as he jumps, he runs off the rooftop. They lift him. To get him height. And then they release as he gets to the other side. The fulcrum pulls him to the other side. So they don't have to pull him, they just have to pull him up.
Right.
So we do rehearsals. With sandbags, 200 pounds of sandbags.
Sure.
We do it, boom, roof to roof. And the jump is probably 20 feet, decent distance. And maybe even more. So we do sandbags, they do it, great, okay. Timing's perfect. Let's go. They do a couple of jumps. It works. Great. Okay. Next shot. We're over on this roof. Another jump. This roof, the second roof is a foot higher than the first roof. So now you got a little more elevation because you got to go up a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So okay. So let's go. Let's do a rehearsal. No, we don't need a rehearsal. Let's do a rehearsal. Like we have time. Let's do a rehearsal, and we don't need one. Like we know what to do. We're primed. We just did 5 takes. And we're ready. Okay. So here we go. Roll camera. Boom. And the guy jumps. They pull. They don't pull enough, and he smacks into the wall. Bam.
Fuck.
That foot of difference equaled probably 10 more feet of pull.
100%.
And they had no idea. 2 broken knees.
Oh,
Just like
this was in Toronto?
just smacked right into the wall, and they pulled him up like. I'm like, fuck.
Anybody know who this could have been?
I do.
Oh, you do?
Really?
No, very well.
Okay.
And the guy that hit the wall wasn't the original stunt guy that was supposed to do the jump.
I don't know that.
Yeah, he was the rigger.
He was a rigger.
And he's a stunt guy. He's a great guy. He's a great stunt guy.
So that was all part of that week.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
No.
Yeah. But the original stunt guy that was supposed to do that jump phoned me.
Oh, okay. There you go. Small world.
And he said, "This is what I'm doing," and I said, "Don't get on that ride, brother."
Yeah.
Really?
I knew exactly what was going to happen, and it did.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So that was like, to me, that was just like my worst nightmare, because I'm so cautious, and so I most directors would say, "We don't need a rehearsal, do we?" I was the opposite. Do a rehearsal. I was trying to get
I don't understand. I don't understand why they wouldn't, other than that it was a show off moment, and
it was.
We're good.
It was. It was.
This is the majority of any shit that happens, though. This exact story is somewhat common. Not, I can't say it's common.
But when,
There's a lot more
something goes wrong,
success.
when something goes wrong,
When something goes wrong, that's the common story. Yeah.
it's just not prep.
Yeah.
Because they had the opportunity to try it with the weights again and realize, hey, we need to pull 10 more feet.
There's a lot of stories about guys driving fast cars, and they'll rehearse, and then right before they go to camera, they wet down the road.
Yeah.
And then nobody rehearses, and what you hear later is, well,
So that
I know.
that backwards one that you saw, that's Steve did.
Yeah, that's a great spot.
So that big rig that slides.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
Yeah.
So we went to the TTC yards in Scarborough, in their parking lot with a big rig, and we practiced sliding the truck. I don't know who was driving, but we practiced sliding the truck, and I needed to know from the time I say now to the time the truck will physically stop. Like, I needed to know, coming at 30 miles an hour, I say now, how much room do you need? I needed to know that for my location. So we did test after test after test after test, and we got it down where it was, I could put a cone there, and he would stop before the cone every single time. We wet the parking lot down. He would stop every single time. Perfect. Okay, we know what we're doing. Get to the chute. Different truck shows up.
of course.
And I'm like, that's not the truck. Oh, that one was booked. We took.
So what was the point of the rehearsal?
Yeah.
That's exactly. I said, why do we do that? Well, the driver said, well, it's no problem. Same thing, same weight, same. All right. So now, in that commercial, the cars flipping and crashing. We destroyed 9 cars doing that commercial.
Oh, cool.
The client gave us 9 cars.
9 new cars.
So
Steve to great
to crash. So one of them, 3 of them had roll bars and cages in them to do the roll over and the jumps and stuff. The rest were just wound with a wire to flip and crash. So really only 3 of them had people in them. 2 of them had roll cages. 1 was just for that driving shot at the beginning and the end when Steve gets in the car, out of the car and walks away. So that first shot, ready, here we go. Here comes the big rig. He goes into a slide. Here comes this truck. Here, the driver knows Steve knows where the truck's going to stop.
Sure.
Steve knows where his car should stop. Here we go, ready, and this car's not prepped. This car is just a real car. Ready, go. The truck goes way past the cone, hits him. Brand new car, first take of the day. Steve almost gets under a big rig. Fuck. And the client, bless his heart, he's just giving me 10 cars, and he's sitting there. It's the first shot of the day. He's sitting there like reading the newspaper, and he looks up. Were we supposed to wreck that car? I said, no. I thought so.
Fuck.
So, but that's just not. It's just like somebody who drops that ball, like who.
Yeah, man.
And what do? Do you say we're not shooting? No, until that's the wrong truck. Like someone's gonna get hurt.
Fuck, man.
Someone's gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Was it the same surface? Just asphalt?
Yeah, wet. But
But not the same vehicle.
Oh, you know what it was? You know what it was? The ABS brakes were involved too somewhere.
Okay.
Somewhere.
Interesting.
I think somewhere, because after the hit, the excuse was, well, the brakes didn't work the same as the other.
Well, there you go. It's not the right truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the excuse I heard.
Fascinating.
The ABS brakes were different. And well, that's why fucking shit had the same fucking truck.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
but somehow, the last stunt story I got. I have a buddy of mine in LA. I used to play golf with. When I moved to LA, I joined this country club, and I used to play golf every day. And everyone is in the business there. So one of the guys I played golf with all the time was a stuntman. He said, "When are you going to hire me? When are you going to hire me? When are you going to hire me?" I said, one day I'll hire you. One day, So years go by, and finally I got this spot for Bud Light. It's a guy running beside a train, and he has to hit a pole, like
Right.
hit the pole, and arms go flying out, and he slides down the pole, like cartoon.
Sweet.
So I call him. I said, Spike, I got a job for you. Spike Silver, I don't know if you know him.
No.
So anyway, I got a job for you. Okay, finally. Oh, great. So we do this thing, and by the end of the night, he's hit the pole. Like, he's hitting a pad on the pole. His face is bleeding. His nose is bleeding. His swollen everywhere. And he's like, don't call me.
And I said, don't ever hire me. That's hilarious.
Don't call me again. I did call him again. I called him for a couple other ones, but I said, well, you asked for him.
That's fine. A friend of mine is a director, and he called me years ago and said, Randy, what would you charge me to run into a wall? Like, what kind of wall? Well, brick wall. Like, run as fast as you can and run into the wall. It was a non-smoking commercial. I was like,
Oh, okay.
like, why would you continue to do something that hurts you? And so I ended up doing it like 20 times. It was great.
It was a good
It
commercial.
was a great spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. Anyway, Steve, we got to wrap this up, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been amazing though.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Sorry to
much
spend
for
so much
coming.
time on the movie stuff.
No, it's great. No, like good stories. The if you're back in Toronto this spring, let's do part 2.
Part
brother.
2, yeah, we'll talk about some commercials, some of the crazy commercials.
We'll talk about some commercial stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. No. Now, Steve, would you mind signing the table?
oh yeah,
As you can see, some guests have done it.
Yeah, pick a nice clear spot somewhere that doesn't cross over the line like this idiot did.
I gotta think about it now.
See, all the people on Spotify and Apple don't
They don't get to see
you don't
this.
get
but
to see it, but
I gotta think
on
about it.
YouTube,
I gotta think I'm gonna write. What was that saying?
Come on, you've written some great ads.
What was that saying again that I said?
Oh, hey, we're getting a
what
Steve
is-
Chase ad.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the saying again?
I don't remember that.
Available if
That's
If,
work.
if that's
it's
work,
work.
you're available. And as we say, that's scratching is the big black Sharpie pen.
Mm-hmm.
Something you just have. Hey, sign your name, brother. Come on. It's not worth cash without that scene.
Sometimes you just have to say, "What the fuck?"
Sometimes.
Steve,
Cool.
thank you so much, man.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Oh man, it's been an absolute pleasure.
My
Please,
apologies.
please extend our hellos to Mike.
Yeah.
Please, yeah.
He's. How do you know Mike? Just from the set?
Yeah, for years. Yeah,
Yeah, he stood with
and,
me
and
told
teaching me how to golf, man.
Yeah,
Oh,
he,
does
he,
he?
he told me my golf clubs were made for women. So
Yeah, Mike doesn't mince words.
No, but that's what we love about him.
So Mike, quick story about Mike is he was in Montreal. He used to renovate homes for a living, and in '90, so let's see, it would have been so '93, something like that. There was really bad recession, and he just was out of work. And I was in LA already, but Don McLean. I asked Don. I said, Don, you have any work for my brother? Like, he needs a job. He's in Montreal. He's struggling. There's no work. And Don said, send him to me. Send him to me. I'll get him some work. I said, look, I'll pay his salary. He just needs work. So he said, send him to see me. So I called Mike. I said, Mike, I got a job for you in Toronto at Partners. So he said, doing what? I said, I don't know yet, but just go see Don. He's got something for you. So he called Don. He went to see Don. Don put him in the camera department with John Siebert and those guys. And he, Don called me about 2 weeks later and he said, I'm paying your brother's salary. I'm giving him a raise. He's the best guy.
He's a great guy.
He's the best guy. So then they put him on the trucks, and and he it took a toll on him, the stress.
I bet it did.
Yeah, and I felt bad a lot of times because I mean, he took advantage of me sometimes. Like, it's funny stories. Like, Mike would go back to the yard, bring the truck at night back to the yard, and you had to leave your car at the yard, bring the truck back, take your car, and go home. And Mike would come to the yard sometimes, and the gate's locked, and he would just drive the truck through the gate, And Don would call me. Your brother drove the truck through the gate last night. Like, why? Well, his car was locked in there. It's like, and Mike knew he wasn't going to get fired. I was like, So I'd call Mike, just don't drive your truck through the gate, okay?
That's all.
You guys sound somewhat similar, though.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's like, oh, fuck. But he's, but I think the stress, he quit. He quit that a few months ago. He just said, and I didn't understand the stress, but then he explained it to me one day. He said, look, I just feel like I got to be the first one there. If I'm not there, no one can work. And he said, I don't sleep at night before the job because I'm afraid I'm going to miss my alarm.
Yeah.
So he said, I'm just stressed. Like I'm stressed all the time, and I'm just afraid I'm going to fuck up and miss and not be there.
That's integrity.
It's just like, fuck.
But yeah, I know him like that.
That's horrible, man. And he's the last one to leave.
Yeah, 100%.
So he said, I just can't take it anymore.
That really is his gig, yeah.
And he spent hours during the day teaching me how to golf, man. It's awesome. Anyway,
I will say hi.
I will. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Blair, you're on me. Cut it, B.